music.
There is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
We won't be out long.
Take your time. Track's all yours.
You ready? The name on the middle of that steering wheel should tell you that I was born ready. Hit it. Attaboy.
Let me drive. I won't make a fool out of you.
I got a message for all of them. Shake and bake.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind? That just happened.
These cars, you sit in a box, a coffin, gasoline all around you. It isn't like it being inside a bomb.
It's tough enough being a girl on the track. Living in my dad's shadow doesn't help much.
You have to be kind to the car. You feel the poor thing groaning underneath you.
No race was ever won in the first corner.
I'm gonna give you an engine, low to the ground, extra big oil pan will cut the wind from underneath you. That'll give you 30 to 40 more horsepower.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
Brakes are warm. Tires are warm.
I'll work in the cars and I'll drive and I'll eat and sleep and I'll work in the cars and I'll drive.
Damn fast, and when he runs it close together, it requires fantastic concentration and rather special skills.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
If you're going to push a piece of machinery to the limit and expect it to hold together, you have to have some sense of where that limit is.
Besides, the best drivers don't dwell on the future or the past. The best drivers focus only on the present.
They could never have imagined it, those pioneers who invented the automobile, that it would possess us like this in our imaginations, our dreams.
I'm gonna give you a fuel line that will hold an extra gallon of gas. I'm gonna shave half an inch off you and shape you like a bullet.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
Racing is in my blood.
I was put on this earth to race cars.
I accept every time I get in my car. There's 20% chance I could die, and I can live with it, but not 1% more.
No, Nicky, don't bring the percentages into this. Don't be a pro. The minute you do that, you kill what's good about this. You kill the sport.
And at that speed, your reactions can barely keep up with these sudden changes in direction.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up?
You want me to work the pit and you drive? Fine, we'll try that.
The car's a living, breathing thing, and she's alive.
If any of us imagined, really imagined, what it would be like to go into a tree at 150 miles an hour, we would probably never get into the cars at all. None of us.
Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
I am just as good as anybody out there on that track, and I don't need anybody to win my races for me.
I wish my daddy were alive to see this, to feel this.
And when we get you primed, painted, and weighed, you'll be ready to go out on that racetrack. You hear me? You're gonna be perfect.
You don't understand what happens, do you? They make 10,000 cars, they make them exactly the same way, and one or two of them turn out to be something special. Nobody knows why.
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
So it has always seemed to me that to do something very dangerous requires a certain absence of imagination.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
Soon you will know what it is like to be defeated by the hands of somebody who is truly better than you.
The only thing to do here is to drive just as fast as you know how and hope your car doesn't break.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
If you ain't first, you're last.
There's 40 other vultures out there who managed to finish the race on their tires. You see Darrell Waltrip using up his tires?
There's nothing I can't do with a race car.
I mean, hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? I mean, come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
Sometimes you could swear the whole thing's falling to bits.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
On the other hand, I suppose potential problems are in the back of your mind all the time.
So in many ways, I feel responsible for what happened. And
You were, but trust me, watching you win those races, while I was fighting for my life, you were equally responsible for getting me back in the car.
You're so lucky. You sit there all closed in by machinery and bolts, precise things. There's hardly any room for you. It must be a nice, safe feeling.
Yeah, you gotta learn to trust something. Might just as well be the seat of your pants.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
Well, we can drive. We can drive beyond the limits of the tires, the engine, the car, anything else.
look out there is the perfect lap. No mistakes, every gear change, every corner. Perfect. You see it.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Ask any racer, any real racer. It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
But it isn't just business, is it?
what we do. It's passion, love, which is why we are prepared to risk our lives for it.
Racing. That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up or shut up.
Why does everybody keep telling me what my problem is?
That you get so emotional.
You would never, ever say that to a guy.
If you don't leave your feelings off the track, you're never going to get what you want.
I'm a race driver, and I can win it on my own.
Please let me race.
Fine. Then let's race.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Grand Prix World Series. We are here for round 9 at the Birmingham Superprix. This one is going to be absolutely fantastic today. My name is Topher Smith, and alongside me, as usual, Tom Cairns. And Tom, the Birmingham Superprix, it's got that certain appeal to it, and it's absolutely fantastic that we can have it here today in the Grand Prix World Series. Give us your thoughts on this circuit and this location.
Actually been to Birmingham myself in my lifetime, but would be very privileged to do so at some point. In regards to the circuit, it does have that unusual feeling, doesn't it? But when the Grand Prix World Series went there last year, it did prove to have produced the race it was after. And not to forget, we had that celebrity race, didn't we, prior to the main race, and that put on a good show as well. So I would imagine, with the 2 grids that we have for today's events, this could prove to be another cracker.
Yes, we're all looking forward to this one. I have been to Birmingham myself once, actually. I went to Autosport International a couple of years ago. Spent a bit of time in the city centre. And to be fair, it's actually quite a nice city. There's a lot of people who obviously have their stereotypes and their jokes about it. But no, I will give Birmingham its due credit. It's actually a lovely place. And today, it is where we go racing. Before we get down to trackside though, Tom, we've got quite a few driver changes. Would you like to explain to our viewers what happened last week?
Yes, so last week it was our young drivers test, or as I'd like to call it, the rookie drivers test, where we had drivers who were not currently competing full-time in the Grand Prix World Series. And this is an opportunity for the reserve drivers and the test driver, reserve drivers and the development drivers to compete in, well, get some experience under the belts, and this gave the managers the opportunities to see if they would be good fit to be racing the Grand Prix World Series instead of what they already had. And I think it'd be best to go through for the League 2 grid the changes that we've got for today.
I completely agree, Tom. The first of those changes within League 2 is at the HRT camp. John Munro taking the decision to drop Dario Franchitti down into the reserve role for this round onwards. A little bit of a surprise, if I might say so, Tom, because Dario Franchitti, he was starting to get it turned around and was putting in some very strong performances. But Alex Lynn, performing very well at the rookie test. He was actually fastest in League 2 out of anyone, only 0.003 of a second ahead of Pato O'Ward in the Leighton House. So John Munro taking a decision to put Alex Lynn into a race seat for the rest of the season. Tom, your thoughts on this one? Franchitti, he was starting to improve, wasn't he?
He was. I wouldn't be at all surprised if he was back in the car at some point later in the season at HRT. He did prove his worth in the coming races lately. I think at the start of the season, the first few races, he was a bit sort of tardy, quite off the pace to where Suter was. But in the last 4 or 5 rounds, he very much came alive, and he nearly got a race victory at some point. Did Mr. Franchitti? But I think for Alex Lynn, this is a golden opportunity for him to really shine in a series. He's still very young. I think he's 26 or something like that. Is Alex Lynn? He's doing well in Formula E. Now, can he convert his debut-esque into the Grand Prix World Series here today at Birmingham, his own round?
We will wait and see how that one goes for Alex Lynn today. He's in a very good car, so he's got a very good chance of doing well here today. On to the Pacific team, and Timo Glock once again being dropped down to the reserve driver role within the team. Carter McCollum, he ran Sergio Sette Camara at the young driver test, and he's decided to put him into a race seat for this round onwards. Camara was 8th fastest in the young driver test, just under a second off the pace of Alex Lynn, which I think is a fair representation given the pace differential between HRT and Pacific. And Carter McCollum taking a decision to put Sette Camara into a race seat for the rest of the season. And Tom, with Camara coming on board for the team, Carter's now used his full allocation of 5 drivers for the season.
Well, I suppose the good thing about League 2 is you can't get relegated. You can only go up from here. But I think this is his biggest gamble yet. Now, this doesn't mean that we won't see the last of Timo Glock this season. Carter McCollum can still use him in place of one of the drivers he's got in his current lineup now. But it's make or break time really for the Pacific team. They really need a strong performance here today. The only highlight this season was Romain Grosjean's victory at Sepang in round 3.
So Pacific, they went into the season as one of the favourites. Not really transpired so far for the team, but maybe their fortunes will turn around as we go into the second half of the season. Our next driver change for you. Force India. Ed Spencer decided to run Sergei Sorokin in the young driver test. And the Russian here, just checking my notes, where was he? I've completely lost where he is. 14th position was Sorokin in the Force India. So not too bad a performance from the Russian driver. Ed Spencer, he's now used his 5th driver as well. Sergei Sorokin, the 5th out of that team. Probably going to be in for the rest of the season, Tom. And I think Martin Brundle, with the way that he's performing, wasn't really due for a long run in that team anyway.
No, and I think Brundle's first appearance, that came in the opening round of the season for what was... I can't remember which team it was now.
It was
I think
the
it was
live
the
team. Andrew Sampson started to run him at the start of the season.
It was, and he couldn't quite convert that into the Force India seats, and he's been booted out, and it's given Sergei Sorokin a chance to race in the series and help give Ed Spencer's squad the much needed boost.
So Force India might not be fighting for promotion at this stage, but can they at least avoid the honour of being within the bottom reaches of the table? Sorokin, he might be able to turn things around for him. And we have a double change at Fondmetal, Tom. The first of those is Gaston Mazzacane being promoted from the reserve driver role up to a race seat to replace Enrique Bernaldi. And I think it's fair to say, Tom, given the lack of pace from Fondmetal, I don't think this is really going to change much within the team, do you?
No, I can't see it. Mazzacane, an opportunity for him to get some experience under his belt alongside Giorgio Pantano, who we'll go on to in a moment. Yeah, I think this is just pretty much a year of discovery. It's pretty much a consolidation year for Ewan Gale, who'll want to improve on next season.
Well, as you mentioned, Tom, Giorgio Pantano is in the other seat. He has replaced Cristiano De Matta, who will stay on with the team in the reserve driver role. Enrico Bernaldi, a completely free agent now. He's not tied to any team at all. And Pantano coming on board. He's a former GP2 champion. Did 1 season of Formula 1 back in 2004 with the Jordan team. Potentially a better signing, Tom, but as I've already said, with the lack of speed that Fondmetal has in the moment, I don't really think this is going to really change anything as far as their fortunes are concerned.
No, and their only points finish came in the second race of the season. Oh no, the third race of the season, where De Matta got that 8th place finish in Sepang. Pantano and Mazzacane could do a similar performance to that, but I think they're going to need misfortunes of others in order to achieve that.
So those are your driver changes for the League 2 race here today. Before we get down to trackside, let's have a quick look at the standings going into this race. Alexander Rossi and Marino Sato still tied on points for a second race in a row. They both had 63 points last time out. Both brought home 2 points last time out, and they are still equal now on 65 points each. Will Power is 4 points behind on 61 points, and Leighton House and Adrian Suttil 56 points here going into Birmingham. Kalamilos in the LaRousse, a couple of more points behind on 54. Hideo Castroneves, 2 races, 2 wins. Can he make it a hat-trick here today? Jose Maria Lopez, 7th in the Eurorun, equal on points with Will Stevens in the Modena on 42. Antonio Fuoco in the Life on 37, and Roman Grosjean not racing today on 35 points. And Tom, look at that, 30 points covering the top 10. And that's just over a race win. And depending on what goes down here today in Birmingham, Tom, there could be a lot of changes going on as we head to the next round at Imola.
There really could be, and you have to say the recent performances have thrown Leighton House as the favourites now to come away with the spoils between now and the end of the season, given the gap they've got over everyone else, particularly 4th place HRT. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if either Will Power or Helio Castroneves came away as the championship leader in League 2 by the end of this one.
Well, it's interesting with Leighton House because they've never had the outright fastest car, have they, Tom? They've always been the car that just gets to the end of the race and picks up the points here and there. You would argue that Life, for example, has the most powerful car on the grid, but that's at the expense of reliability. With Leighton House being run by Chris Cavani, they don't have the fastest car. They just have a car that is actually capable of going the distance and picking up the points when those around them fall to the wayside.
Well, of course, and you look at Castroneves, who in his 2 races he's done, he's won both of them. So there's nothing for Chris Cavani, the team boss of that squad, to complain about. And for Will Power, he's done a tremendous option since he came in place of what was, I think it was Robert Wickens, wasn't it?
It was Robert Wickens, yeah.
Yeah. So, with the IndyCar taste in his mind, Cavani's relishing the opportunity to go on and get promotion and potentially win the title. If he does get promoted, he deserves it.
Absolutely, cannot agree with that more, Tom. As we go on to the teams now, Leighton House, they have been the most dominant team so far. As we said, by virtue of finishing races rather than being the outright fastest car, they are on 158 points, ahead of LaRousse on 119 and Life on 114. Those 3 seem to be the breakaway teams at the moment, but HRT chomping at the bit there on 88 points. 26 points behind Life at the moment. It could all change today. They could get themselves right up into the mix should Adrian Suttil and Alex Lynn have a strong result today. Eurorun, they're on 71 points, 10 ahead of Pacific with 61. Then the 2 Italian teams, Modena and Coloni, on 60 and 42 respectively. Zach Speed, the German team, on 37 points, and Force India breaking into the top 10 on 22 points. Ed Spencer getting that team turned around there. Tom, this is getting very exciting, isn't it? We have 3 teams there that all want to get promotion, but HRT, Eurorun et al. Will not want to let them get away that easily.
No, we've still got 8 more rounds to go and a lot can still change. And remember, I think it's 45 points, the maximum you can get in one round. So if you look at Leighton House, who are 70 points clear of 4th place HRT, they're looking very, very strong, and HRT are in desperate need of a strong result here today.
Well, will they get it? Let's go down to trackside and take you through our grid order before we start this race here today in Birmingham. On pole position, it is the Leighton House of Will Power. 0.4 of a second ahead of Adrian Suttil in HRT. He'll want to get a strong result today from second on the grid. Jose Maria Lopez, a fine job there in Eurorun for third on the grid ahead of Hideo Castroneves, aiming for a hat-trick today. Marino Sato and Alan McNish, a great job from him. They line up on row 4. Antonio Fuoco, Will Stevens, ahead of Marcus Fingelhock and Brendan Hartley. He's doing well on his return to the Grand Prix World Series with Pacific. Alexander Rossi, our championship leader, heads up row 6 ahead of debutant Alex Lynn. Lucas de Grassi, Callum Ilott, they make up row 7, ahead of another 2 debutants. Sergei Sirotkin and Sergio Sette Camara, both good jobs there from them in qualifying. How will they fare in the race today? Jack Aitken and Jerome D'Ambrosio, row 9, ahead of Scott Speed and Sam Bird on row 10. Then we have Valentino Rossi, Perry McCarthy on row 11. Row 12 is made up of Gaston Mazzacane and Mike Conway. And on the back row, Oliver Turvey and Giorgio Pantano qualifying last on his debut in the Grand Prix World Series. So, heading down to trackside now. We are so excited for this race here today, Tom. 59 laps. We have a lot ahead of us. How do you see this one going?
Will Power just needs to get a really, really good start here and pull away from the field, and they shouldn't have any trouble. It's a very short lap here as well, is the Birmingham Superprix, so I would expect there to be a lot of drivers being lapped by the end of this.
Our pole position time was a 1 minute 15.2 from Will Power. We won't quite be as fast as that in the race, but it'll still be a quick one, as you say, Tom. Waiting for the lights to go out. Will Power is on the right. Adrian Suttil is on the left, hoping to get a rocket start in the HRT. Waiting for the lights to go out now as we are ready to get underway at the Birmingham Superprix, and we are off and away. Adrian Suttil looks like he's got a really good start there on Will Power, getting the better traction off the line, and Adrian Suttil's going to go around the outside. He's done it. What a start there from Suttil. Gets straight into lead, and a bit of argy-bargy there in the background. Jack Aitken getting a punt up the rear from one of the Andrea motors, and Sam Bird is out already, and we're on board with him now. What's happened to him here? Oh, he's been hit up the back there by Perry McCarthy. So Sam Bird not even reaching the start line of this race. That won't be a good sign of things to come for Mike Smith and the Zaxby team. Sam Bird out within a few metres. Tom, how do you read that one?
I think he's one of those first light collisions. I'm not sure if McCarthy had enough time to react to it. There was 2 wheels off there on Sam Bird's car. I don't know if another wheel came off the front of his, but either way, it's a very short home Grand Prix for Sam Bird.
And we've just seen there a switch between the live drivers. That was Sato going past Fuoco, and Valentino Rossi gets himself crossed up there, and he's got damage. So Valentino Rossi missing a rear wing there. We haven't seen what's happened. The cameras were trained on Sam Bird at the time, I'm guessing. So Valentino Rossi having to limp back to the pits here. We have not seen what's happened to him. I imagine it will have been one of those first corner racing incidents. So the stewards might need to have a look into that. They might say it's just the first lap. We will wait and see if anything comes off that. But Valentino Rossi already having to come in front and force pit stop. Meanwhile, at the front, Suttil getting really good traction off the line to jump Will Power into the lead of this race. And Power looks like he's trying to line up the German here, getting down the inside. Is he? No, Suttil closes the door there. Suttil, he's got the lead. He wants to get his second victory of the season. He's not going to let it go. And Will Power now under attack from Helio Castroneves here.
So Suttil shutting the door there on the Leighton House. You can see Castroneves trying to make a move on his teammate. Does he go through into second place? Power doesn't fight it out that much, and Castroneves goes through. So a change of order there within the Leighton House cars already. Power just needs to watch Jose Maria Lopez behind. But he seems to have good power off the exit of that left-hander there if they've gone through. And the corner names up. That's the Halford's corner, I believe.
So Will Power looking down the inside of Helio Castroneves and trying to get back past him again. He's into the slipstream, pulling ahead. We've cut away at just the wrong moment there. We're looking at Marcus Finkelhock holding off Will Stevens and Brendan Hartley. We can see on the graphic that Castroneves is still in second, ahead of Will Power in third. The Leighton houses don't really want to be fighting too much with each other. They want to close up to the back of Suttil and get back after the lead again. But if they're fighting each other at this moment in time, Adrian Suttil's just saying thank you very much. And as you can tell on the timings there, Tom, Suttil already has a gap of 1.9 seconds.
So is that an indication he's on a lighter fuel load than the others?
That is quite possible. We haven't seen what the fuel loads are yet, but Suttil making the most of a great start off the line here at the Birmingham Superprix to get himself into the lead. 1.9 seconds is the gap between himself and Castroneves, who he had a good start getting up from 4th into 2nd place, and he's dropped Power by half a second now. So Castroneves getting them moved through into 2nd place, and Power's already getting up to the back of him again, as we now look at Callum Ilott getting down the inside of Sergei Sorokin in the Force India. And also Sorokin, he's got a point to prove his day. He closes the door firmly on the LaRousse. He wants to try and vindicate Ed Spencer's choice of bringing him into the team. And Sorokin getting quite offensive. And Ilott's gone wide there. That was well held there by the Brit, but he's now got Lucas Di Grassi for company, trying to hold on to P14. Sorokin has now dispatched that battle. He's getting off of the road after Alexander Rossi in the other LaRousse. Here is Adrian Suttil, your race leader, now 2.2 in the lead as Will Stevens trying to find a way past Antonio Fuoco here, but being forced offline, and he's now under attack from Marcus Winkelhock and Brendan Hartley's got a little bit of a train behind him here. We're getting a great battle for the points paying positions here. Looking at the timings at the moment, the lead at the front is now to 2.1 as Winkelhock's down the inside of Stevens. Lovely move there from the German, and Brendan Hartley's trying to find a way through as well. Stevens looking a little bit ragged at the moment. He's trying to settle into a rhythm but not finding it. Winkelhock making the most of that opportunity to get down the inside of the Modena, and he's now going to P8's Alex Lynn there down the inside of Brendan Hartley, so plenty of overtakes going on here, Tom.
Most certainly so. I'm just looking at Will Power, who's now got back into second place ahead of Castro Neves. McNish ahead of Lopez as well, so McNish having a brilliant race in the Coloni.
McNish up there in 4th position doing a fantastic job. He qualified 6th for this race. It was already a fantastic performance up until that point. Now going even better, running P4, and he's here right behind the Leighton houses. So can McNish possibly contend for a podium here today? He's not there as a result of attrition or anything, Tom. He's there on pure pace. McNish doing a fantastic job here so far.
Yeah, and he's going to put himself into the slipstream of the Leighton house of Castro Neves. Does he do it into Halford? I think he does it. Yes, he has. Brilliant move there from McNish.
Absolutely textbook there from the Scotsman. Off camera, Will Power got past, and oh! What's happened to Alexander Rossi there? He had already come into the pit, so he's out on track on his own, so I'm guessing there's been a driver error here. We're riding on board with the Italian MotoGP legend now through the chicane, and he's turned in too early into the second part of the chicane. That is a real shame for Rossi, because he'd already been hit up the back by someone earlier on. We didn't see who that was, and he was fighting to get back into contention his day, but through pushing too hard, I'm guessing, Tom, just got it wrong through the chicane and is now out of the race as we got a major battle going on here.
And Lopez has lost out in that to Sato, so Sato's on a charge, and Castro Neves is beginning to go backwards now because Sato's going to be all over the back of him in a minute.
And Sato hoping to make the most of the power of that life car. It is the most powerful car on the grid. They would have been hoping to run up the front for this race, but they were outdone in qualifying by the likes of Will Power and Adrian Sutil, so not really running at the front as we've become accustomed to. The Sato's there in P5, Fuoco's there in P7, so they're still on for some points here today, but they've got a bit more of a fight of it as they're in amongst the group. There is Will Power, second position. He has now cleared that battle and is 2.3 seconds behind Sutil. Sato is down the inside of Castro Neves, so Castro Neves is going backwards. He had a great start earlier on, going from 4th to 2nd. Now down into 5th again. I wonder if Helio Castro Neves might be running a bit heavier than his counterparts here today. We'll have to wait and see what happens when it comes to the first round of pit stops. It could be a 1-stopper, it could be a 2-stopper. We won't know until we either see the digital readouts inside of the cars or until we get to the first pit window. So, a great battle going on here. 4 cars fighting for 3rd position. Not far behind them actually is Antonio Fuoco and Will Stevens, so we could even get a 6 or 7 car battle going on here. But McNish is at the head of that field, and here is your race leader Adrian Sutil, 2.3 seconds ahead of Will Power, just enjoying life out of the front at the moment. He's already been a race winner this season, and he'll desperately want to make it a second as he aims for the championship this season. Will Power in 2nd, McNish is 3rd, Sato 4th, Castro Neves 5th, then Lopez, Fuoco, Stevens, Winkelhock and Hartley ahead of Alex Lynn for the final points competition as Castro Neves looks down the inside of Sato again. Castro Neves, he's trying to fight back here and he gets 4th place off the Japanese driver. This is a really fascinating battle going on here, Tom. You must be really enjoying the sight of this one as much as I am.
Most certainly so, and looking at Castro Neves is just fighting back, and that was a ride on ball there away from Sato. Now we go back to the race lead of Sutil. We got 2.2 seconds over Will Power, then McNish another 2.8, Drift in 3rd.
So, Adrian Sutil, he had a fantastic start off the line, got into the lead, and he's now doing everything he can to make the most of that advantage. We ride on board with Alan McNish as we take a look at the bottom of the table. Bird not even classified with anything, he didn't even reach the start line unfortunately, so Sam Bird our first retirement, followed by Valentino Rossi who made a simple driver error as he found his way into the barrier at the chicane. Turvey popping propping up the field there. Ed Hunter and the Real team not getting the results they were wanting to get this season. So maybe looking more towards season 3 now, trying to maybe get some more power out of their car. There is Jose Maria Lopez running in 6th position at the moment. His fortunes have started to turn around a bit, Tom. Started off the season a little bit inconsistent. He was our winner at the pre-season festival at Watkins Glen, but since then, a bit of a bittersweet season for the Argentine, but more recently actually starting to get some results coming this way. Lopez, maybe a dark horse for the championship if he can get more results come his way?
Essentially, I mean, Lopez at the moment, looking at where he is in the standings, 7th on 42 points, but he's only finished 3 times out of the 8 races so far, so this is do or die really for Lopez if he wants to be challenging for the title in League 2.
And Alan McNish, he has dropped Helio Castroneves and Kai behind him. That gap is 1.2 seconds between himself and the chasing pack, so McNish looking very good for a podium at this moment, but bear in mind we are only on lap 9 out of 59. Callum Ilott defending there from Lucas Di Grassi and the Zaxby. Ilott was our race winner in the opening round of the season at Taupo, but since then hasn't really got that much to write home about. Running down 14th, that's not where he'd want to be right now. As Brendan Hartley down the inside of Marcus Winkelhock for P9. Hartley's got a point to prove this season. He was dropped from League 1 team at Manor earlier on this season. Found a new home with Pacific. Cosmo Coleman deciding to take a chance on him. Brendan Hartley so far repaying that favour with a brace of points finishes, and currently on course to now get another one as he moves up into P9 and chases down the life of Antonio Fuoco, who we are currently riding on board with now, or we were before we cut to our race leader, Adrian Sittle, navigating the chicane. Now on board come Ilott again, still holding off Lucas Di Grassi there. This is a proper battle going on here between the Brit and the Brazilian. Callum Ilott, he will not be at all happy. Van La Russa as a whole will not be happy. They took 1-2 in Taupo, but we've got Ilott in 14th and Rossi only 1 car ahead of him in P13. Di Grassi now getting on the inside, is he? Is he going to make the move 6th time? No, Ilott says no again. Ilott driving very defensively here at the moment. Di Grassi not particularly happy with that manoeuvre by Callum Ilott, as we now look at Marino Sato down the inside again of Helio Castroneves. Another move for P4 and P5 there, Tom.
Sato getting the move done there. Can he pull away from Castroneves? Because we know how quick that Leighton House is in a straight line. Looking at McNish coming through. The right-hander as Mazzacane pops up the field in 24th position, or so it was, gets back through on what looked like Oliver Turvey.
So, Ewan Gale, the team boss of Vomital, not really taking this season that seriously. We've said it a few times now. But to be fair, Mazzacane doing a very good job there to fight with the Reals. We would have expected Mazzacane and Pantano to be right at the back of the field, given how little power the Vomital has, but they're doing a fantastic job with the machinery they've got to hand. And Mazzacane fighting his way past Oliver Turvey there.
Yeah, and Will Power has managed to get the gap down between himself and Sutter to 1.7 seconds. So Will Power fighting back at this early stage, but has still got the pit stops to come.
So, lap 11 of 59. Here in Birmingham, Lucas Di Grassi getting a little bit crossed up there as he tried to get the gap back down again to Callum Ilott. So it's broken away a bit now. The gap is 0.8 of a second between them. So, Di Grassi there, losing out to Jerome D'Ambrosio. He's getting very racy as Mike Conway is out of the race and looks like he's had a mechanical issue. Here's a transmission problem we can see. And has he clipped the wall there, Tom? It looked like as he's pulling over to the side of the circuit, he's clipped the barrier and he's lost his rear right wheel. So the barrier is very unforgiving here today, Tom.
Yeah, they most certainly are, and I think we're going to see a few more of that over the course of the next few hours.
So, not the result that the Real team would want today. They still have one driver left in this race in the form of Oliver Turvey, but currently down in last out of the remaining runners. Lap 12 of 59. There is your race leader, Adrian Sittel. Gaston Mazzacane here, getting very racy. He's now trying to get past his teammate Giorgio Pantano. Pantano qualified last for this race, and he's now made up a few positions to 21st. Excuse me. Gaston Mazzacane looking very racy here today. He is the meat and the sandwich between Pantano and the sole remaining Real of Oliver Turvey. This is a nice little scrap going on here. both those former Tal drivers, they'll be looking to get a permanent race seat within the team and maybe a seat for season 3 as well, should Ewan Gale elect to carry on with any of those drivers. Alan McNish in third and Degrassi down the inside of Jerome D'Ambrosio. So plenty of battles going on here, Tom. It's pretty much wherever you look, there's overtaking going on.
And even if it's outside the points, still fighting over position, and this is crucial for those towards the back of the field in case those towards the front end up having trouble. Will Power most certainly not having trouble at the moment catching Adrian Stutzel in the battle for the lead, but we're not too far away from pit stops, Topher.
No, we're not too far away at all. Lap 13 out of 59 at the moment. There is Marcus Fingelhock running behind Antonio Fuoco. He's going backwards at the moment. We would have expected him to go forwards. Birmingham is actually quite a quick circuit, so using the power that their life has, we would have thought they'd be up there within the top 5, but as it stands, Sato is 4th, but Fuoco in P9, he won't be at all happy with how that's going for him so far. Will Power there in 2nd position, the gap 1.5 seconds between himself and our race leader Adrian Suttil. So this could end up being quite a tasty battle, and there is a first of our pitters, Oliver Turvey, out of last place. So a scheduled pit stop there. Oh, Jack Aitken so nearly going into the back of the sole remaining Andrea Moda of Jerome D'Ambrosio there. He had to go right out of that overtaking opportunity there. Now, Jack Aitken, he was quite a force when he came into the series of Force India, if you pardon the pun there, Tom. Got a few points finishes to start off his campaign, but since then not really done that much actually. So today he will be hoping to get back into the points again, but yeah, quite inconsistent so far from Aitken this season.
Well, he's done a better job than what Rondle had done, and Sonali and Alonso Jr. Can't forget those guys who actually very quality in this season. Oh, D'Ambrosio clipped the barrier, he got away with it though. Oh, that's the other Andrea Moda. We've already lost one already today. We can't really afford to lose another one, especially for Lewis Passendale, who's the team boss.
So, the barriers, as we've already said, Tom, very unforgiving here. If you make a mistake, they will punish you. Jerome D'Ambrosio so lucky to get away with that one. He definitely did brush the barrier there through the chicane where his teammate Valentino Rossi became a cropper. D'Ambrosio able to continue here as we look at Sete Camera down the inside of Aitken, and Camera on his debut in the Grand Prix World Series. He qualified in P16 for this race. Currently running in P17, I believe, so lost out a little bit, but now trying to fight his way back through and make a move there on Jack Aitken. Will Power, the gap's down to 1.2 and they're going across the line now. What's the gap going to be? It's still 1.2 seconds. So Will Power just eating into Suttil's lead a little bit here and there, trying to make the best of it he can, as Pantano fighting Mazzacani. It's a proper intra-team battle here between the two Fromentals. Mazzacani got the move done earlier on, we didn't see it on the cameras, but now these two basically fighting for top honours within its own team. It's not going to be for points at this stage in the race. It's Jack Aitken looking down the inside of Camera and again having to get out of it. Camera making the most of his Pacific to work his way through the order, and Jack Aitken now has the attentions of Scott Speed trying to get past him for P17. 1.1 seconds a gap now between these two out in front. This one is getting to be absolutely fascinating. It's now 1.0 as Scott Speed down the inside of Jack Aitken there. So much overtaking going on this day. This has been a fantastic Birmingham Superprix so far, and we're only 15 laps into League 2 race. We still have League 1 coming up later. That's going to be a whole other ball game in terms of the calibre of drivers they have, the calibre of the engines and the team managers. There's so much going on here today in Birmingham. We are absolutely fascinated by this. We are loving it. And at the moment, Adrian Suttil still holds the lead over Will Power and Alan McNish.
Alan McNish keeping in touch, well I say keeping in touch, he's over 5 seconds behind Will Power now. But he's still got a cushion over Salter, who's wheeling in slowly. And the gap now just under a second between Suttil and Power.
And 1.1 seconds behind Salter is Helio Castroneves. The man who's made quite the impact coming into the Grand Prix World Series. He's done 2 races so far for Leighton House and he has won both of them. He wanted to make a hat-trick today. If he can win today, it'll be 3 wins from 3 races, which is absolutely unprecedented in the Grand Prix World Series. But Castroneves took an absolutely fantastic job after coming into the Leighton House team. Currently running in P5. So I'm not really on for the race win in terms of pure pace just yet. But we still have a long way to go here today. We're at a quarter distance now, lap 15 out of 59 we've just completed. As Degrassi still trying to get past Callum Ilott. These two are having a huge ding-dong battle here. And Ilott is just closing the door every single time. Degrassi getting rather frustrated behind the LaRusse because he wants to advance up towards a points-paying position. But Callum Ilott saying absolutely not. You have to fight your way past if you want to get the better of me. And Degrassi now going to the outside of Ilott, trying something different there into turn 1, but again just not able to quite make the move stick on the British Formula 2 racer. So Degrassi getting very frustrated here. If he can get past Ilott, surely he will be after the other LaRusse of Alexander Rossi there in P13. I don't know where to look, Tom. There's just so much going on here. We've got battle between Ilott and Degrassi. We've got the two Fonmatels almost tripping up over each other. We've got Sutil being closed in on by Power. We've got a fight between Sato and Castro Neves. I don't know where to look, Tom. Can you make sense of anything here?
It's overtakes galore, really, in Birmingham. But it would be the other way around. You can see Jack Aiken making a move on the, what looks like the modnet of... Is that Scott Speed who's just passed there? Couldn't quite tell on the driver's helmet.
That is Scott Speed, indeed, who's now under pressure from Perry McCarthy in the Scuderia Coloni, as Will Stevens, the first of the top 10 to come into pit. So it looks like we're approaching the window for the two-stop strategy here, Tom.
Now we want to keep an eye on Stevens' pace, although he's going to drop out of the top 15 when he does rejoin onto the racetrack.
Sergei Sorokin also coming in for his first ever pit stop in the Grand Prix World Series. And a brief mention there of Perry McCarthy, Tom. His days in the Grand Prix World Series might be numbered, because as we understand it, Gemma Dixon, the new team principal of the Scuderia Coloni outfit, she's looking to bring in Christian Lundgaard into the fold, and if it's going to be to replace anyone, surely it's going to be Perry McCarthy.
Well, McNish is doing the job at the moment, McCarthy's not quite doing so. Now that's the difference you can tell between the two drivers. As you can see, Sutter's coming up towards the back marker that looks like Oliver Turvey, that both him and Power are coming up to now.
So riding on board with Adrian Sutter, looking back at Will Power there, he is 0.8 seconds the gap between those two. The gap has stagnated a little bit, as here we are with Cashin Everton to the pit, so he is on two-stop strategy, coming in on lap 19, and he's put 24 laps of fuel on board. That is a definite two-stop strategy for the Brazilian driver. Where is he going to come out in relation to the other drivers around him? He needs to get out in some clear air if he's going to get the better of Marino Sato and Alan McNish. Lucas Degrassi also coming into pits there as well, as we're back on board with Adrian Sutil. The gap now 0.7 seconds as Fuoco loses out to Winkelhock. So Fuoco not having any pace at all here today. He's been right up there fighting for wins at almost all of the races he's competed in this season, but now struggling for pace here today. He's trying to get back past Marcus Winkelhock, and we can't quite see where Winkelhock is. Brilliant move there from Winkelhock, holding on in the dirty stuff around the outside there. Fuoco just not with the pace in the moment, not able to hold off the Europe run, and I don't really know what's going on with the Life team, or at least one side of the Life team here, Tom. We've got Sato up there in P4 as Sutil is into the pits from the lead. Sato's in as well, so now we're starting to get the big hitters coming into the pits. Jose Maria Lopez also in, so Sutil's pit stop here is going to be very important if he's going to stay ahead of Will Power, who has gone for at least another lap. Sutil now on his way out of the pits. Where is he going to filter back in? It looks like he's got a bit of clear air actually, and almost being hit up the back there by Callum Ilott. But Sutil, he has a comfortable cushion of clean air in front of him actually, so Sutil can make the most of that and try and make sure that he stays ahead of Will Power when the Australian comes in to the pits. So HRT doing a fantastic job there with their pit strategy to get the German out into some clear air.
And that was crucial because Castroneves came into the pits the lap before and he's not inside the top 15, so Sutil getting out in some clean air now. It's all down to Will Power whether he decides to go on a one-stop. I think if he's going to win this one, the one-stop may well be the way to go.
We're now on board with Alex Lynn up there in P6, now up the back of Antonio Fuoco. So Lynn doing a fantastic job here, starting from P12 on the grid, up into P6 as we go through the pit stop phase at the moment, so not necessarily his true representative race position as it stands. as Marcus Fingerhawk now into the pits. So he's going to drop down the order a bit. Fuoco's now up into P4, but he still has the pits as well. Just looking down to see where Suttle is in comparison to Rossi. He's 1.1 seconds behind him, so he'll want to dispatch that LaRousse as soon as possible. As Castro Neves trying to get past Perry McCarthy here. I don't think McCarthy's making life too easy for him. As Aitken gets a little bit crossed up through there. Aitken down in 21st position there. Our 3 retirements, Sam Bird, Valentino Rossi and Mike Conway. We're on lap 21. 3 cars out of this race.
Fingerhawk's dropping down a few places. I know that's just because he's only coming out of the pits. Oh, is he spun?
So driver off there. That might have been Finkelhock actually. I think it was a red car, which might have been the Eurogrun.
It is the Eurogrun, Fingerhawk.
So it can't be Lopez because he's right there fighting for position with Scott Speed. So yeah, it must have been Finkelhock, maybe making a mistake coming out of the pit lane as Alan McNish into the pits.
So this is a crucial stop from McNish. Where's he going to come back out as Will Power completes his stop? And he should probably get out in front. He won't get out in front of Suttle, but he can at least get on a lap or 2 fresher tyres than the German. He rejoins behind Alexander Rossi, who pulls off.
Rossi, he was in between Suttle and Power through the pit stops there, but he's now out of the race. There looks to be a mechanical issue for the American Championship leader there. Antonio Fuoco there now into the lead, but he's still yet to come into the pits. Our race leader is still Adrian Suttle, trying to wait. We're waiting for the graphics to fully update themselves because we believe they need to go through another sector before we know what the actual gap is between Adrian Suttle and Will Power. But Suttle getting an undercut effectively on Power. It looks like he has increased his gap to the Australian there. Fuoco maybe going on a one-stop strategy here, which might account for his lack of pace earlier on. And you said it earlier, Tom, a one-stopper could potentially be a viable option here, as Jose Maria Lopez down the inside of Will Stevens at P8 there, and Castroneves round the outside of Scott Speed. No, he's backed out of that one rather sensibly, I think. The outside line not really working around Birmingham at the moment. He's got to wait for another opportunity here and try and make the move stick.
Carmolot's into the pits now for the LaRousse team. He's the only LaRousse driver left in the race as Scott Speed comes in as well. Allows Castroneves to get some clean air and go after Will Stevens, who's another couple of seconds up the road. We've got 4 drivers in the pits now, so it's pit stops galore here in Birmingham.
It's getting very busy down there. They need to be careful to not trip up over each other. We've seen this a few times in previous races where drivers been held up in the pit lane and lost out on positions because of it. And looking back now from Antonio Fuoco, Adrian Suttle pretty much with a pit stop advantage over the Italian. Fuoco possibly going on to a one-stop strategy here. How is that going to unfold later on in the race? Well, we still have quite a few laps left to go here in the League 2 Birmingham Superprix. We ride on board with Jerome D'Ambrosio. Up there in P13, he's doing a great job so far in the Andrea Motor. Started 18th on the grid, did the Belgian. He had his debut last time out and unfortunately retired quite early on in the race, and now having another crack at it. Running up there in P13, so if he can make up a few more positions here, maybe some points will be forthcoming for the Belgian.
And Alan McNish posting a new fast up of the road. He's coming into life now in the Coloni. He's closing in on Marino Salto, who has, I think he's yet to pit, hasn't he, Salto, or has he already been in Topher? I can't quite remember.
Just to have a look at the action going on track here, Tom, this actually might be quite crucial here because Antonio Fuoco is now holding up Adrian Suttle, and that might benefit Will Power as he wants to get the lead from the German, but Suttle is now through into the lead, so Fuoco not really doing the HRT any favours at all there. Will he be just as unkind to Will Power when he catches up to the back of him? Well, it might depend on where Power catches him on track. As Alan McNish looking to get down the inside of Sato, and no, Sato holding on around the outside there. So many overtakes going on here in Birmingham. This has been a fascinating contest so far. I think it's pretty evident now, Tom, that Fuoco is going on to a one-stop strategy here. Can he make that work, do you think?
Well, looking at the times now, Will Power is setting much faster times than what Suttle's setting, although Suttle was just going by Fuoco, wasn't he? But Will Power's pace is beginning to show on the second stint.
So, Leighton House looking for yet another another victory this season. They have been right up there fighting the whole time and benefiting from when others fell by the wayside. And I think they've got 3 wins in a row now, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom. Castroneves has won the last 2, and I think Will Power won the one before that. So Leighton House and Chris Cavani enjoying a fine run of form here. I don't want to put any sort of jinx or commentator's curse or anything on it, Tom, but surely that run must come to an end sooner rather than later.
Well, we'll find out soon enough, but I'm confident that Will Power is going to get onto the tail of Adrian Sutil very, very shortly.
Well, the gap is 2.2 seconds between them. Power has now dispatched Fuoco into second place. So Fuoco going backwards again, trying to make a one-stop strategy work. He's got a gap of 4.2 seconds to Alan McNish behind him. We will keep an eye on that gap as it unfolds, but Sutil continuing to hold the lead here from Will Power, a gap of 2.2 seconds. Sato running P5, so both lives in the top 5 at the moment, but one of them still yet to make a pit stop. Jose Maria Lopez in the Euro run in P6 ahead of Will Stevens in the Modena in P7. Castroneves wanting a hat-trick here today, but not really forthcoming at the moment for the Brazilians. Still a long way to go though. Brendan Hartley's 9th in the Pacific ahead of Alex Lynn, running very well on debut in 10th.
So Castroneves trying to get past Stevens, but he's now going to be overtaken by the Pacific of Brendan Hartley. So Castroneves not having the best of races so far in this, and he's got a lot of ground to make up, and he's still got another pit stop to make, hasn't he?
He has indeed. Looking at what the gaps are outside of the top 10, Sorokin running in P11, about 5 seconds behind Alex Lynn at the moment, so Lynn quite comfortable there in P10 at the moment. De Grassi is in 12th. He has dispatched Callum Eilert through the pit stop phase. He will be very happy with that, and is now 1.6 seconds behind Sergei Sorokin. D'Ambrosio there in P13 ahead of Eilert, and then Jack Aitken, we caught a brief glimpse of him just a few moments ago. He's now in P15 in the Force India, so both Force Indias on the verge of some points here today. They might need a little bit of attrition to happen within the top 10 if they're actually going to get themselves onto the scoreboard, but we're only on lap 27 out of 59. The gap between Sutil and Power down another tenth there, down to 2.1 seconds. So Sutil, now that he's got past that traffic, maybe getting himself back into a rhythm again as he wants to hold off Will Power for the lead here. Here is Gaston Mazzacane in the Fonmetal making his debut, running down in P20 I believe at the moment. The Argentine driver, first time out in the Fonmetal, and had a nice little battle with his teammate Giorgio Pantano earlier on. We're not sure where Pantano is at the moment. We haven't seen what the bottom half of the graphic is at the moment. There is Antonio Fuoco, who's actually been caught quite quickly by Alan McNish here, so the Scotsman won't want to waste any time at all getting past the life driver here, as he's looking for a podium to add to the one that he got earlier on this season, I believe in Taupo if I remember correctly. And Marino Sato there in P5 on the 2-stop strategy. Life splitting their strategies today. Fuoco on the 1-stop and Sato on the 2-stopper. There is a gap of 2.9 seconds between them at the moment. So, not really evident at the moment which is the absolute best strategy, but we'll wait to see where Fuoco comes out when he makes his one and only pit stop. Brendan Hartley there in P8. He's been absolutely exceptional on his return to the Grand Prix World Series. Was dropped by Manor earlier on from League 1, came back into League 2 with Pacific and has scored points at every race he's competed with them so far. Fantastic job there from the Kiwi. And Tom, the rumour mill is starting to circulate about Season 3 already, who might drive where. Brendan Hartley's making himself look really good for potentially a better seat in Season 3 if he can attract one.
Well, if any of the League 1 teams are looking for a driver in Season 3, Brendan Hartley wouldn't be a bad choice by any stretch.
Absolutely. There is Jerome D'Ambrosio, the sole remaining Andrea Moda. A moment ago we saw Anna McNish almost up in the gearbox of Antonio Fuoco. He has wasted absolutely no time in catching up to the back of the Italian, and he'll now want to get past as soon as possible with Marino Sato also closing in behind them. We run on board with Adrian Sutil, our race leader. The gap's down to 1.7 seconds, Tom. It's getting close between those two.
It is very much now, and you're looking at McNish and Fuoco. In fact, McNish has got past Fuoco for 3rd place. Now he can go after Will Power and can the Scot.
So it was off camera as we were looking at Giorgio Pantano, who's actually running ahead of Gaston Mazzacane. Those two Fonmetals running line astern at the moment. Hideo Castroneves trying to make a move on Brendan Hartley here down the inside. He's going to get a move done. Yes, he is. No, he's not. Hartley holding on around the outside there. That's fantastic driving from the Kiwi. Really good battle going on between those two. They will both want to try and get up to the back of Will Stevens if they can and get into a higher points paying position. Now, these battles going on all around the circuit. This is fascinating watching around Birmingham. We are potentially losing Birmingham from the calendar for Season 3 actually. Brands Hatch has been touted as his replacement as the British round for Season 3. Tom, Brands Hatch is an absolutely fantastic circuit, there's no denying that. But we're getting some brilliant racing around Birmingham, so where would your heart lie when it comes to the Birmingham versus Brands Hatch argument?
I think you have to say Brands. I mean, Brands is the circuit which drivers want to be racing at. It's just whether it can put on the spectacle like what Birmingham is doing today. So Castroneves got back ahead of Hartley now into 8th place. Hartley's lost another position to Alex Lynn, so has Hartley got a problem?
And also, Marino Sato passed Antonio Fuoco for P4, so Fuoco doing a good job of holding up Will Power and Alan McNish, but not really offering any sort of fight to his own teammate. Very smart there within the life camp, so Fuoco sticking to his one-stop strategy at the moment, while Sato on the two-stopper and only 2.2 behind this man, Alan McNish. So Sato will hope to make the most of his life engine and get after the back of the Scotsman. Oh, Will Stevens having a moment there. Oh, I might have nearly brushed the barrier there. Very close there for the British driver as he comes out to the final corner. I think he's got away with that one though, but getting a little bit out of shape through the chicane. And he continues in P7. Here is Hideo Castroneves ahead of Alex Lynn, still doing a fantastic job there in the HRT. They're trying to get after Will Stevens here, whose rhythm might have been a bit affected by that moment he had against the barrier just now. But Stevens, he's no slouch. He will get that Modena back up to speed as soon as he can. But with Castroneves, our two-time race winner, breathing down his neck, might the pressure be starting to mount a bit here? Although I say that, maybe the pressure should be more on Castroneves as Alex Lynn's looking down the inside of the Brazilian here. He's going to make the move stick. Yes, he is. What a move from Alex Lynn there into P8, past our most recent race winner. Lynn's having an absolutely fantastic day today here, Tom. Started in P12 and now fights up into P8 as Fuoco brushing the barrier there. This action wherever you look, Tom.
So right, it was a brilliant move there from Alex Lynn getting past Castroneves to that right-hander where we've seen a lot of overtaking there in the past. Alex Lynn's next target is Will Stevens, who's only just 1 second in front.
So Alex Lynn, he was brought in as a replacement for Dario Franchitti. We thought somewhat unfairly. I mean, Alex Lynn, he was the fastest in the young driver test. Did an absolutely fantastic job in Istanbul. But Dario Franchitti had been showing some steady improvements and was putting in some fantastic drives for HRT. But John Monroe taking the decision to put Alex Lynn straight into the car after the young driver test.
Sato's in trouble.
And Sato is slowing down. It's a puncture for Sato, so maybe he's clipped the barrier somewhere. And so nearly hit up the back there by, I believe that was Jose Maria Lopez. I'm guessing that Sato must have brushed the barrier somewhere and it's deflated his right rear tyre. So Sato becomes our 4th retirement, and that is a real shame for the Japanese driver who's looking good for some points today, maybe even a podium later on. But not to be.
It's the 5th retirement of the race, Topher. We've lost Alexander Rossi, we've lost Mike Conway, Valentino Rossi and Sam Bird, Marino Sato.
Yes, thank you. So, thank you, Tom. Marino Sato, our 5th retirement today. An unfortunate incident there for a Japanese driver, must have brushed the barrier, I imagine. Fuoco is now into the pits for his one and only pit stop, so crucial times for the life team. They just had one driver fall out of the race and now the other one in for his one and only pit stop, so some massive pressure on the life team there, but Fuoco is out in P14. He's between Winkelhock and Aitken, so on fresher tyres. Can he make that work through the field as Jerome D'Ambrosio down the inside of Lucas Di Grassi there? That is for P10, so D'Ambrosio up into the points. He's doing a brilliant job in the Andrea Moda at the moment, and here is Alex Lynn, who's caught up to the back of Will Stevens and now trying to get P5. Lynn is absolutely flying here today. He was given the chance by John Monroe to be in the seat, and he is trying to repay that faith in the best way that he can. Here is his teammate, Adrian Suttel in the Hispania, in the HRT Hispania. He said Hispania on the rear wing, got a little bit confused there. 1.2 seconds gap, now 1.0 between Suttel and Power. So Will Power held back a little bit in the last few laps just to get into a rhythm and try and make his tyres and fuel last a bit longer. Now seemingly going on the attack again. It's now 1 second dead between Suttel and Power. We're shaping up for a great contest for the lead here, Tom.
The gap is now 1 second between Suttel and Power, now down to 7:10, so Power wheeling in Suttel. I don't know whether Suttel's getting stuck behind back markers though, Topher. Would want to have a look to see on the picture whether Suttel's getting held up by those who are travelling at the back of the field.
Well, we were looking at Jack Aitken, we're now looking at Callum Ilott in between Marcus Finkelhock and Antonio Fuoco, who's just come into the pits for fresh rubber. Now trying to make his way through the field if he can, trying to go down the inside here of Ilott, and he does indeed make the move stick there. Fuoco wasting no time in getting past a LaRousse, and that is a LaRousse who he is fighting with not just in the driver's table, but also the team's table. Both LaRousse and Life trying to get promotion up to League 1 for Season 3. So Fuoco, he'll want to waste little to no time getting past Ilott and next getting past Finkelhock, then Degrassi, D'Ambrosio and Sorokin and co. As he gets further up the order. All those in front of him will still have to pit again. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, but I think that Fuoco might be the only driver on a one-stop strategy here today.
Well, we did say it could be the way to go, but I'm not sure if it is the way to go because Fuoco's lost a lot of time and now he's having to get back through drivers who are going to be on fresher tyres come the end of the race.
And look at this, Tom. Will Power's right there. He's playing the Jaws music in his head as he catches up to the back of Adrian Suttel. We're going to get quite a tasty battle here between those two, I should imagine. 0.4, the gap between us two. It's now 0.2. Will Power in the slipstream of the HRT, not getting the move there into turn 1. But he's going to bide his time and try and make the move stick at the best opportunity, staying right with him through this sequence of corners. And Adrian Suttel looking more on his mirrors now than he is right up ahead of him as Power's looking down the inside here. We're still on board with Suttel. It looks like Power is through into lead. Yes, he is. Will Power takes the lead of the Birmingham Superprix in the League 2 category. So he bided his time. He waited for the right opportunity and he now made the move stick into the lead. Will Power in first ahead of Adrian Suttel as Marcus Finkelhock now under attack from Antonio Fuoco, and he shuts the door on the Italian. Fuoco not at all happy with that. As D'Ambrosio, how did he keep that out of the barrier? That was a fantastic save there from the Belgian. He's under pressure from his Formula E counterpart Lucas Degrassi and getting it all locked up into the barrier there, or very nearly into the barrier rather. He did a brilliant job to pick that up and keep it going in P10. D'Ambrosio looking for his first points of his Grand Prix World Series career here today. Brendan Hartley looking down the inside of Will Stevens. No, not quite able to get through there. He's sticking with the Modena though. Plenty of overtakes going on. It seems wherever we look, there are overtakes going on here today. This is what we want to see. We've had attritional races in the past, which may be exciting on one level, Tom, but less cars means less racing. We've only had 5 cars retired from this one, and the racing has been absolutely exemplary.
Yep, and it has to be said, you know, we've seen a lot so far today in Birmingham. And can we get this in the coming races in Imola? But not to forget, there's still the League 1 races to come later on. So, Will Power in the lead, very important for the championship, both the drivers and the team standings. And I think for HRT, they'll be happy to be 2nd and 5th because with Life out of the points and the other team who are in contention for promotion this season. Just trying to remember off the top of my head, that
Life and HRT, they're in 4th in the standings at the moment.
Yeah, so LaRousse not on course to score a lot of points in today's race, or hardly any points, as McNish comes into the pits, as does Suttel.
So this is going to be an important pit stop for the HRT boys. They pitted 1 lap earlier than Will Power in the last round of pit stops. Now can he use that to his advantage and get the undercut to get back into the lead again? There is McNish. He's fueled to the end. Coming out in front of him is Adrian Suttel. He will be fueled to the end as well. Where is Suttel in relation to the people around him? Well, he's behind Alex Lynn. We're running on board with him, and Suttel has a gap to work with, so he's got some clear air, which will be good for him. if he gets up to the back of Alex Lynn, I'm sure the Englishman won't hold up any sort of barrier towards Suttle as he's chasing the lead of the race again. Hideo Castroneves down the inside of Brendan Hartley there. Those two having a really good battle between themselves. But we're waiting to see when Will Power will come into the pits and where he's going to come out in relation to Adrian Suttle. And Will Power, he's just past the pit entry there, so going on for at least another lap here, Tom.
So Power needs to think about when he's going to choose, because Suttle is in clean air at the moment. He's going to be on the back of his teammate Alex Lynn very, very shortly. Hartley in 7th position behind Hideo Castroneves. So this is a good opportunity for him to get past the Leighton House, although Castroneves needs to think about ending him off. He's got Will Stevens in front of him as Alex Lynn pits.
So Alex Lynn into pits and he will be out of the way of his net race leading teammate Adrian Suttle. Will Power looks like he's coming out of some traffic there. I think that might have been Sergio Sette Camara who's coming up to lap. Jose Maria Lopez there in 2nd place. He's had a little bit of a quiet race, but he's running up there, currently in P2. When he comes in for his pit stop, he might come out around about where Sorokin and Fuoco are. So we'll wait to see what happens there. And this has become a 3-way battle here. Magnish has already pitted and is on the fresh rubber. He's now on the back of Castroneves and Hartley. He will not want to be stuck behind there for too long because he's fighting for a podium here today. And Lopez very nearly being rear-ended there by one of the Fomitals. I think that might have been Gaston Mazzacane, as McCarthy scraping the barrier there. This is a guy who might be out of a seat at the next round. He does not want to be going and throwing away any chances of a finish here today. De Grassi here now coming under attack from Winkelhock, he concedes 15th position there to the German, who has come in for a pit stop recently on a different strategy to the Brazilian. We're still waiting to see when Will Power will come into pits. The gap between himself and Adrian Suttle, 24.1 seconds. It's around about that for a pit stop. So if Suttle's making the most of his clear air and his fresh rubber, Suttle might well get back into the lead here.
Mazzacane unlapped himself from Lopez by the looks of things. Mazzacane just came in for a stop, hence why he's just overtaken the Eurobrun into Halfords. But it looks like McNish getting past Castroneves to the inside. This is an important move for McNish, and he goes through.
Probably some very choice words in Argentinian from Jose Maria Lopez going on in that helmet there. As Will Power comes in for a second pit stop. Now this is crucial here. We have 19 laps left to go in the Birmingham Superprix. Power is into the pits, 21 laps of fuel. That will see him through to the end. But where is Adrian Suttle? That's what we want to know. It's around about 24 seconds. The last time we checked on the graphic, it's a 9.5 second pit stop there for Power. That's not bad from the Leighton House. We've seen better. That is not at all bad. So trundling along at 83 kilometers an hour, and Suttle right there. He goes through into the lead again. So Adrian Suttle making the undercut work to get the lead back off of Will Power, but Power now has 2 laps fresher rubber on Adrian Suttle. Can he use that to his advantage? We are set for a titanic last few laps here in the League 2 Birmingham Superprix. We ride on board with our current race leader, Jose Maria Lopez, but he has yet to come in for his second pit stop. So Suttle, our next race leader, that is a gap of 2.4 seconds between himself and Power. We'll keep an eye on that gap as the last few laps tick down here in Birmingham. Gaston Mazzacane is really feeling racy at the moment. He's unlapped himself on Jose Maria Lopez, our race leader, and he's now trying to get past Oliver Turvey. So we weren't giving Mazzacane much hope, were we, Tom? But he's showing he's actually quite a racy fella.
Yes, over here in Birmingham. I just wonder what it'd be like at Imola next time out. Now, believe it or not, Imola was the location for Mazzacane's last Formula 1 race in 2001.
Yes.
And Lopez coming into the pits from the race lead. Where is he going to filter back out?
So Lopez had a fantastic Superprix up until this point, leading for a few laps here. Where is he going to filter out? He's behind Fuoco now, who's still on that one-stop strategy. 15.2 seconds behind the race lead of Suttle, so I don't think the one-stop strategy was the way to go, but we still have 18 laps left to run. Anything can happen in the Grand Prix World Series, and it usually does, to paraphrase the late, great Murray Walker. Now, Jose Maria Lopez out in P5, so he's done a very good job there, Jose Maria Lopez. He started in P3 for this race. Did lose out a few positions early on, but now making his strategy work, and he's into P5 again, so on for a good haul of points for himself and for the Eurobrun team, as Oliver Turvey now loses out to Gaston Messicani, and he's now about to have a lap put on him by our second place driver Will Power. The gap between Power and Suttel now down to 1.1, and that will be a very welcome sight for Will Power. Oliver Turvey into the pits and getting out of the way. So Power 1.2 seconds behind Adrian Suttel now. Closing in, we could get a monster battle for the win in the last few laps here, Tom.
We could do, and Lopez's stop has got him out behind Froco, but on the fresher tyres, Lopez should close in the live car. So far this season, Lopez has not finished higher than, well, second actually in Youngam, but he's only finished 3 times, as I've already mentioned during the show. So this is an opportunity for him to really take advantage of this and actually bag some more points for the Eurobrun team, who have struggled, to be honest with you, this season.
Lopez has definitely had the speed. There's absolutely no doubting that. He just hasn't necessarily had the luck or the reliability. Whenever he has finished, he's finished in high positions. He's already stood on the podium this season. But it's about getting to the end of the races. We've said this so many times across the course of the season, Tom. The Grand Prix World Series is a championship where you need to find that fine balance between upgrading your power and upgrading your reliability. Some teams are doing it better than others, and with the Eurobrun team, they do have a powerful car, but it's not necessarily reliable.
And Sesse Camera going past the Von Mattel to put a lap on it. I think that was Giorgio Panzano who was trying to unlap them earlier on, and now Sesse Camera's got back through again. But Nish in third place, looking very content, and Power's got through past Suttel.
So we just cut to the end of that battle there, and Will Power has caught up to the back of Adrian Suttel. And is that a problem for Power? One of Power's wheels has come loose there. He's just taken the lead. And yeah, you can see it there on the readout. He does indeed have a loose wheel. Oh, all that work by Will Power has been undone. You can see there the right rear tyre is flapping around like a loose piece of chicken skin. And oh, Tom, what can you say about that?
That's a dreadful lot there for Chris Cavendish. We were saying about when the good luck was about to end for the late house squad, and unfortunately it's happened to Power, not to Castro Neves. So that's a bitter blow in the team's quest for promotion, and what a huge boost it would be for HRT with Suttel back in the lead and Lynn going up to 5th.
So Helio Castro Neves, we ride on board with him now. He's just got past Sergei Sorokin, but only for 12th place. But Castro Neves has gone backwards in this race. He started off really well earlier on, but just hasn't found any race pace. And Chris Cavendish, we might have to talk to him about it later on. But as it stands at the moment, Leighton House on course for just the 1 point, which would be for Will Power's pole position. I'm not sure who's got the fastest lap at the moment. If my memory serves me correctly, Alan McNish was the last person to take that fastest lap. But that is going to be a bitter blow to his promotion chances. They do have quite a dominant championship lead at the moment, but Chris Cavendish, he will want to get it sewn up as soon as possible. He won't be at all happy with that, will he, Tom?
McNish up to 2nd now. That's brilliant news for Gemma Dixon. I'm sure that will rethink her plans about keeping hold of him, because McNish is doing a very, very good job with McCarthy out of the top 15, and it is rumoured that Christian Mongard will be in McCarthy's seat for the next round and beyond. But this is a major boost for Coloni with how they've gone about their business this season. They're not exactly flying high, are they, in the championship?
Well, speaking of not flying high at the moment, this guy, Callum Ilott, he won the opening race, and we thought Callum Ilott might be in for a very strong season where he could challenge for the championship. A few little glitches there on the screen, apologies for that. Callum Ilott, we were expecting him to fight for the championship, especially after he won in Taupo. And he's still up there within the top 10 in the championship, but at the moment just has no pace around Birmingham. He's recently been overtaken by our debutant at Pacific, Sergio Sette Camara. Sergei Sorokin, just about to speak about him. He's in 12th position, doing not a bad job on debut. He's only a couple of places away from points, but he won't want to make too many more mistakes like that. So at the front, Adrian Suttel now with a comfortable gap over Alan McNish. And I believe, Tom, if Suttle does indeed finish where he is, with the drivers around him who aren't potentially scoring as many points, Suttle might take the lead in the championship here.
So Suttle on course to take the lead in the championship. He was he was fourth coming into this round, 9 points off the top. As it stands, he would lead the championship, if my maths is correct. He would go on to 81 points. With Rossi not scoring, neither would Sato or Power. I think Suttle could well have a 16-point lead at the end of this.
So this is going to be a big day for Adrian Suttle and for HRT. Suttle leading and set to take the lead of the championship. Alex Lynn on debut up there in P5, which would add another 10 points to HRT's campaign as they chase down promotion. They're currently fourth in the standings. This will be a massive payday for John Monroe and the HRT team, a very welcome one at that. And as you say, Tom, Power is out, Sato is out, Alexander Rossi is out, the top three in the championship. Not going to score any points except for Will Power's 1 point from pole position. So, John Monroe rubbing his hands together very gleefully, I imagine. And McNish is out! McNish, he was set for a stellar podium and he's now got suspension failure. Oh, that is a huge blow to Gemma Dixon and the Scuderia Coloni team, who are now on course for 0 points themselves. The suspension on the front left failing on the Scotsman's car. Oh, he was doing everything right up until that point, Tom. What a calamity that is.
It was, and that promotes Antonio Froco up to second now for life. We felt they weren't going to get that much out of this, but now they're going to get a second place after all. Oh, that's really bad luck there for Gemma Dixon. They really needed this, and that's a repeat of what happened in Kyalami, I believe.
Yes, absolutely correct, Tom. McNish also falling out of a high points playing position there as well. And what can you say about these drivers? We've said it so many times, Tom. You need the power, but you also need the reliability. And you can't help but feel sorry for McNish, for Gemma Dixon and for the Coloni team there. But we're into the last 10 laps in the League 2 Birmingham Superprix. Adrian Suttle now with a 17.8 second gap over Antonio Fuoco, who is indeed now making a one-stop strategy work as he runs in P2. Jose Maria Lopez in third ahead of Alex Lynn, who's now in fourth. So it's now potentially 37 points for the HRT team. They are absolutely loving it here today in Birmingham. Will Stevens in P5 ahead of Brendan Harley. Jerome D'Ambrosio running very well in the Andrea Motor, going up to P7 from 18th on the grid. So D'Ambrosio, what a performance from him so far. Lewis Bassendale will be very happy with his choice of replacing Vincenzo Sospiri with the Belgian driver. He now looks like he's going to get some more points to add to his tally. Marcus Fingerhock in P8 ahead of Ilya Castroneves, who is now up into P9. Could still bring some points home for the Leighton House team as they look to consolidate their lead in the team standings. And Lucas Di Grassi, he fought off Callum Eilert earlier and he's now rewarded with running in P10. Could pick up a point for himself and for Zach Speed here today, but there is your race leader, Adrian Suttle.
Suttle 18 seconds clear of Froco, so I think if Suttle was to have a problem and come back into the pits, he'd still be on much fresher tyres and still come back and find a way to win, wouldn't he?
Absolutely. So Suttle looking very comfortable here. We haven't really seen any action in our YouTube live chat today. We would have thought that we might hear from Gemma Dixon after seeing her man Alan McNish fall out of second place. But don't forget you can get in touch with us through the comment section. Are you enjoying the race? Do you think that maybe someone should be doing better? Is someone doing worse than you thought? Let us know what you think of the whole situation. And don't forget you can get involved in the Grand Prix World Series. There are rumours going around, Tom. We might be opening up a third league for the Grand Prix World Series in Season 3. How exciting is that? We can get more people involved.
Yep, and with more and more people joining the Retro Racing Managers League, this is their chance to experience what the Grand Prix World Series is actually like. And this was the very first championship we did in the Retro Racing Managers League. In the Retro Racing Managers League, sorry, I'm
it's a little bit of a mouthful.
Yeah, the 19th of March 2020 was when we did our first ever Retro Racing Managers League race in Kyalami, the first race of the Grand Prix World Series season of Season 1.
So our baby is 1 year old already. Who would have thought we'd go this far? This was a concept that was put together by Jake Sanson because of the lockdown that we went into. The first lockdown we went in, he devised the Retro Racing Managers League as a way of alleviating the boredom, basically. But we are now out of lockdown, and we're still continuing with it, just simply because it's that brilliant. It's that much fun. It's fun to watch, and it's also fun for us to put these races on for you and to commentate on them. Myself and Tom Cairns, we absolutely adore this series. We love being able to commentate on it and bringing these races to life for you. So if you want to get involved, make sure you get in touch with Downforce Radio. We will find a way to get you on the grids. We also have the 1991 Formula 1 season coming up within the next few weeks. We have touring cars going on at the moment. We just had our latest round in Croft, and there's some exceptional racing there. Once that season is finished, we will be moving on to 1991 Formula 1. Back to the Grand Prix World Series action here though. Jose Maria Lopez looking down the inside of Antonio Fuoco, and the door is shut firmly on him there. So Fuoco's on the one-stop strategy on older tyres here. So Lopez looking for a way through into P2 here to get himself a few extra points towards his campaign. And Lopez also in to benefit from the demise of those around him. We've already said that there might be a few drivers losing out here. As Fuoco does indeed lose out, Lopez through into P2, and he's now on 18 points for himself, which with the demise of Alexander Rossi, Marino Sato and Will Power from this race, Lopez himself, as well as Adrian Sutil, could make up quite a few positions in the standings here. We still have a handful of laps left to go. Fuoco, he's let Lopez go. He's got himself a gap of around 9 seconds to Alex Lynn behind him. Are those tyres going to last to the end? It was a bold strategy for him to go onto a one-stop around here. But at the moment, making it work. Fuoco on for a podium. But how fast is Alex Lynn going to be at this point when there is a potential podium in the offering there?
No, certainly so. And Alex Lynn's gap to Will Stevens is 6 tenths. As you can see, Jack Aiken putting a lap on the Fon Mattel. Looks like Giorgio Puntsnote. And can you believe a Force India's lap to Fon Mattel?
I mean, Ewan Gale, the team boss of Fon Mattel, not taking this at all seriously. He loves being, what's the word? I'm trying to think of a word that's not rude, that's broadcastable, but basically he loves being really bad at this. He really enjoys being the one that props the field up. And he's just basically here for a laugh.
Yeah. Would you say a music hall joke? Would that be the best term to describe it?
So anyway, Adrian Sutil continues to lead ahead of Jose Maria Lopez. Yes, I'm not stooping down to jokes like that. Adrian Sutil, 20.4 seconds ahead of Jose Maria Lopez. Sutil looking very comfortable now for victories. Will Stevens trying to get past Alex Lynn here. This could end up being a fight for the final podium position should Antonio Fuoco's tyres fall off even further. So Will Stevens, he absolutely has to go for this on Alex Lynn, because at the moment it's for P4, but should Fuoco lose even more time, that could end up being for P3.
Fuoco dropping back from Lopez now, and Sutil just needs to keep the car, well, continue on to the end with the way he's going about his business. He is coming up to lap the sole surviving colony of Perry McCarthy. Well, we haven't seen much from him in this race, and this could well be his swan song within the team.
I don't think we will be seeing that much more of him in the future. Gemma Dixon reportedly lining up Christian Lundgaard for the next race at Imola. I'm sure that will be made official as soon as Gemma Dixon is able to, following the conclusion of today's broadcast. Motorsport Mike, our first comment since the YouTube live chat, asking the whipping boy. I'm guessing that is in relation to our comments about what we were deciding to call Ewan Gale there. I think the whipping boy is probably fairly accurate, to be fair, Mike. So a very good answer there from the team manager of Midland Racing, who you will see in action in the League 1 race following the conclusion of this race here in League 2. We've got 5 laps left to go as Adrian Sutil puts a lap on Perry McCarthy, and I think that might be the last we see of McCarthy this season. There is Antonio Fuoco. The gap between himself and Stevens actually now past Alex Lynn. We didn't see that on camera. I've just spotted it now on the graphic. Will Stevens up into P4 and now chasing down this man, Antonio Fuoco. The gap between them, 8.3 seconds with only 5 laps left to go.
So Stevens in the championship with 4th place potentially his. He'd move on to 54 points. and 27 points off the lead. So he would most certainly go into the top 10 with Stevens, or he's still in the top 10, but going up higher in the standings.
Ilya Kashanevis there trying to get some more points for the Leighton House team, getting past Marcus Fingelhock for 8th position. Will Power dropping out of the race earlier on with a loose wheel, was not able to make it back to the pits to get that repaired. So Kashanevis, our sole remaining Leighton House, and it looks like he's not going to be making it a hat-trick here today, but he's already done a fantastic job so far this season. I'm sure Chris Cavney will want to keep him for the rest of the season and possibly into season 3 as well, which I mean Akasha Neves and probably Will Power as well, to be fair, will be challenging for the League One title next season should Leighton House go the distance in the second half of the season. Lap 56 out of 59, we're nearing the conclusion of the League 2 Birmingham Superprix as Scott Speed gets past Sergio Sette Camera for P14 there. And Camera's actually into pits, he's got a brake problem there, so that's why Camera was going slowly. He has been able to make it back to the pits, thankfully for him. So an easy job there for Scott Speed. Jack Aiken also benefiting to go up into P14. Alex Lynn now under attack from Brendan Harley here. He lost out to Will Stevens. Oh, a bit of a lock up there for Jack Aiken. Keeps the Force India pointing in the right direction though, well held by the Anglo-Korean there. Alex Lynn, he was running in 4th earlier on. He's now lost out to Will Stevens and is now under pressure from Brendan Hartley. We cut back to this battle here. Hartley wanted to get up to P5 and bring home another points haul for him. Brendan Hartley, we mentioned it earlier, dropped by Manor earlier on in the season, now proving why he deserves to be on a Grand Prix World Series grid with the Pacific team doing absolutely fantastic under the management of Carter McColeman. We have 3 laps left to go here in this race. Can Hartley get the move on Alex Lynn, our returning racer, against our new racer? This is a fantastic battle. The Pacific versus HRT, and Hartley's looking down the inside here. Is he going to get the move done, Alex Lynn? Yes, he is. A lovely move there from Brendan Hartley into P5. That's now potentially 10 points there for the Kiwi and for the Pacific team. Looking at the gap now between Fuoco and Stevens, not really changing too much. I don't think Stevens, and very close there between Lopez, and I think that's Mazzacane in the Fonmetal there. Stevens not really making that much headway into 3rd place of Antonio Fuoco. So it looks like the Life team will indeed make their one-stop strategy work en route to a podium.
And there's also the battle for the final points paying position between Lucas Di Grassi and Sergei Sorokin. The gap is 0.7 of a second. Can Force India snatch a point away from Zach Speed?
Fascinating battle. Wherever you look in this race, there's been so many battles going on throughout the field, so many overtakes. It would not surprise me, Tom, if we have a new record for overtakes in one race in the Grand Prix World Series, as Castroneves very nearly adds 1 to that tally as he tries to get past Jerome D'Ambrosio in the Andrea Moda, who's doing a fantastic job here today. Started in P18, up in 7. One of my drivers of the day for sure is Jerome D'Ambrosio, and Castroneves putting a lot of pressure onto the Belgian here. Can he make a move through into P7 and pick up some extra points in the last 2 laps that we have?
I think he's got a good chance to do it here now. Topher is going to go to the inside, into this right-hander as they come through now. We've seen some overtakes here throughout this, and he does go through.
So Helio Castroneves through into P7 past Jerome D'Ambrosio, who will now be under pressure from Marcus Finkelhock in the Eurobrun. That Eurobrun's got a good bit of power behind as well, so should be quicker on the straights. He's into the slipstream now, biding his time, waiting for the opportune moment to get past the Belgian. But we are now on the last lap of the League 2 Birmingham Superprix. Adrian Sittel looking set for a brilliant victory and a well-needed victory for himself and HRT, with both titles and promotion at stake at the end of the season. Riding aboard with Jose Maria Lopez, he looks set for P2 here, and Fuoco doing a good job on the one-stop strategy for P3. Here is your race leader and apparent race winner waiting for the last few corners here. Adrian Sittel round the last corner there in the slipstream of the Fonmetal, but it doesn't matter. Adrian Sittel wins the League 2 Birmingham Superprix. A fantastic job by him. He fought off the advances of Will Power earlier on, and that when Will Power retired with a loose wheel, it was plain sailing for the German, and he brings home his 2nd victory of the season. Jose Maria Lopez, another fine drive from him. He's finding his feet now in the Grand Prix World Series, and he finishes in second, a third podium of the season for him. And Antonio Fuoco, third place for himself and for the Life team. A good job by the Italian. There is Will Stevens, that is a second, fourth position in a row. Brendan Hartley in fifth, and Alex Lynn on debut, sixth place. What a job by him, and a good haul of points for the HRT team. Congratulations to John Munro for that. Hideo Castroneves is no hat-trick for the Brazilian, but he will still be happy to score points in P7. Jerome D'Ambrosio, my personal driver of the day, P8. What a drive by him. Marcus Fingerhock in ninth, and De Grassi beats out Sorokin for the final point.
And that was a good effort there from Adrian Sutil. Dominated it since Will Powell fired. But you can't deny HRT's performance today. This was the result they needed.
Absolutely. Double bubble disco queen, Gemma Dixon. Been a bit busy. Saul McNish in P2. What happened? Well, let's run you through the order first. Adrian Sutil, a second victory of the season ahead of Jose Maria Lopez. Then Antonio Fuoco in third. A great podium there for those three, all deserving. Will Stevens in fourth, ahead of Brendan Hartley in the Pacific. Then Alex Lynn, a good debut from him in P6. Hideo Castroneves ahead of Jerome D'Ambrosio. Marcus Fingerhock and Lucas Di Grassi round out the point scorers. Sergei Sorokin on debut in 11th, ahead of Callum Ilott. Then Scott Speed and Jack Aitke in P13 and 14. And then a lap down, Perry McCarthy, Sergio Sette Camara, Gaston Mazzacani, Oliver Turvey and Giorgio Pantano. Then our retirees, Alan McNish, Will Power, Marino Sato, Alexander Rossi, Mike Conway, Valentino Rossi and Sam Bird not even reaching the start-finish line. And our fastest lap goes to Will Power, so 2 points there for the Power at Leighton House. So, might not have been the day that Leighton House wanted today, aiming for a hat-trick for Hideo Castroneves, but I think they can still be fairly happy with that, as some of their main championship rivals also fall by the wayside, Tom.
Yeah, and just looking at the points total for each of the drivers now, Sutil has a 16-point lead over Alexander Rossi and Marino Sato, who are second and third. And looking at the teams championship, as far as I can see, Leighton House's performance, I mean, they got 8 points out of today's event. HRT got 33, so the gap down between them and HRT's 45 points, but LaRousse are out of the top three. They're in fourth place now.
Oh, will not be at all happy with that. HRT having a great payday there to get themselves into the top three in the standings, but that was only round 9. We have 16 in total. There's still a long way left to go in this championship. Next up, it is the League One race of the Birmingham Superprix. We will have a break of 5 minutes. Make sure you stay tuned, and we will see you in a few minutes' time. Don't go away.
Ah, what music!
There is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
We won't be out long.
Take your time. Track's all yours.
You ready? The name on the middle of that steering wheel should tell you that I was born ready. Hit it. Attaboy.
Let me drive. I won't make a fool out of you.
I got a message for all of them. Shake and bake.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind? That just happened.
These cars, you sit in a box, a coffin, gasoline all around you. It isn't like it being inside a bomb.
It's tough enough being a girl on the track. Living in my dad's shadow doesn't help much.
You have to be kind to the car. You feel the poor thing groaning underneath you.
No race was ever won in the first corner.
I'm gonna give you an engine, low to the ground, extra big oil pan, cut the wind from underneath you. That'll give you 30 to 40 more horsepower.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
Brakes are warm, tires are warm.
I'll work in the cars and I'll drive and I'll eat and sleep and I'll work in the cars and I'll drive.
Damn fast, and when you run so close together, it requires fantastic concentration and rather special skills.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy lead-foot punk. Then this starts.
The best drivers focus only on the present.
They could never have imagined it, those pioneers who invented the automobile, that it would possess us like this in our imaginations, our dreams.
I'm gonna give you a fuel line that will hold an extra gallon of gas. I'm gonna shave half an inch off you and shape you like a bullet.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
Racing is in my blood.
I was put on this earth to race cars.
I accept every time I get in my car. There's 20% chance I could die, and I can live with it, but not 1% more.
No, Nicky, don't bring the percentages into this. Don't be a pro. The minute you do that, you kill what's good about this. You kill the sport.
And at that speed, your reactions can barely keep up with these sudden changes in direction.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up?
You want me to work the pit and you drive?
Fine, we'll try that.
The car's a living, breathing thing, and she's alive.
If any of us imagined, really imagined, what it would be like to go into a tree at 150 miles an hour, we would probably never get into the cars at all. None of us.
Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
I am just as good as anybody out there on that track, and I don't need anybody to win my races for me.
I wish my daddy were alive to see this, to feel this.
And when we get you primed, painted, and weighed, you'll be ready to go out on that racetrack. You hear me? You're gonna be perfect.
You don't understand what happens, do you? They make 10,000 cars, they make them exactly the same way, and one or two of them turn out to be something special. Nobody knows why.
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
So it has always seemed to me that to do something very dangerous requires a certain absence of imagination.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
Soon you will know what it is like to be defeated by the hands of somebody who is truly better than you.
The only thing to do here is to drive just as fast as you know how and hope your car doesn't break.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
If you ain't first, you're last. There's 40 other vultures out there who managed to finish the race on their tires. You see Darrell Waltrip using up his tires?
There's nothing I can't do with a race car.
I mean, hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? I mean, come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
Sometimes you could swear the whole thing's falling to bits.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
On the other hand, I suppose potential problems are in the back of your mind all the time.
So in many ways, I feel responsible for what happened. And
You were, but trust me, watching you win those races while I was fighting for my life, you were equally responsible for getting me back in the car.
You're so lucky. You sit there all closed in by machinery and bolts, precise things. There's hardly any room for you. It must be a nice, safe feeling.
Yeah, you gotta learn to trust something. Might just as well be the seat of your pants.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
Well, we can drive. We can drive beyond the limits of the tires, the engine, the car, anything else.
Look out there is the perfect lap. No mistakes, every gear change, every corner. Perfect. You see it.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Ask any racer, any real racer. It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
But it isn't just business, is it? What we do. It's passion, love, which is why we are prepared to risk our lives for it.
Racing. That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up or shut up.
Why does everybody keep telling me what my problem is?
But you get so emotional.
You would never, ever say that to a guy.
If you don't leave your feelings off the track, you're never going to get what you want.
I'm a race driver, and I can win it on my own. Please let me race.
fine. Then let's race.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for the League One Birmingham Superprix. We just had a fantastic League Two race. Overtakes galore it was. It was very enjoyable to watch. And we are set for more of the same in the League One race. Tom, how are you feeling after that League Two race? Surely you must be excited for what's to come in the next hour or so.
Whilst the race for the title is hotting up, the battle to stave off relegation is also on the line. Who will benefit from the changes after the young drivers test of last week?
Well, speaking of those changes, the first of those is at your team, Tom. At the Prost team, you've taken the decision to drop Pedro De La Rosa and you've brought in Marco Wittmann, who tested for the Leighton House team. And talk us through your thinking behind that one.
Well, I needed someone quick, and given how Prost have done so far this season, we felt we needed to go for a new face. We needed to take a gamble on someone to maximise our chances of survival, and we felt that Wittmann, after his performance for the Leighton House team, I knew he wasn't going to be in the race seat for the Leighton House squad after the young drivers test, so I just jumped on it and got him.
Just checking through my notes here to see where he finished. He was 5th fastest for Leighton House in the young driver test. Half a second off the pace set by Alex Lynn, who now races for HRT as a result of his performance in Istanbul. So, Marco Wittmann getting his Grand Prix World Series debut today. How will he do from his P15 on the grids? We will see when we get to the race later on. But first of all, a few more driver changes for us to go through. Next one is at Minardi. Jos Verstappen has been dropped down to the reserve driver role, and Danny Junkendaya has been brought in, who was one of the stars of the young driver test. he put the Minardi third fastest in that test. It was an exceptional performance by the Spanish driver, and that convinced T-Pot to give him a seat for the rest of the season. And Tom, I wouldn't say the Minardi are quite fighting off relegation just yet, but with the improvements that other teams are making, it's still a possibility for them. So I feel as though this was a change that Minardi absolutely had to make.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And Verstappen hasn't impressed me enough this season, which is a shame, given his experience in Formula 1. But for Daya, this is an opportunity of a lifetime for him to showcase his class within League One. And will he bag himself a race seat by the end of the season? I think the next 8 races are going to determine it.
So absolutely fascinating stuff there at Minardi. The next driver change in League One is at BMS Scuderia Italia. It's a changing of the Brazilians. Pietro Fittipaldi down into the reserve driver role, and Nelson Piquet Jr., second fastest in the young driver test in Istanbul. Emma Featherstone, the team principal there, straight away saying yes, he's in a race seat. She did not hesitate for 1 second when putting Nelson into the car. And BMS, Tom, they are a race-winning outfit this season at the hands of Andre Lotterer. Can Piquet go and make it both sides of the garage?
I'm sure he can. I mean, Piquet, even though his time in Formula 1 wasn't particularly great, but his pace in the young drivers test was fantastic. And I would love to see him get himself into the mix. And qualifying P7 as well, out qualifying his more illustrious teammate, Andre Lotterer. Piquet has a great opportunity to shine on debut.
Let's not forget, Andre Lotterer is actually a championship contender at this point. So I don't think he'll want to be outpaced by his teammate too much if he's going to get after that League One title this season. On to the final change for this race. And at the moment, this is only a temporary change, Tom. Michael Gillespie taking the decision to give Lewis Williamson a run at his home Grand Prix here in Birmingham. At the moment, it's just a one-off, but if Williamson does well enough... where is he on the grid? Completely lost my notes. He's 23rd on the grid. So not exactly a qualifying to write home about, but if he does have good race pace and puts it up towards the point, maybe that could become a future permanent race seat.
Essentially, I would love to see how he gets on. He could be one of the surprises of the race today, could Williamson. Can his racecraft prove it?
Well, there's only one way to find out, but before we get down to trackside, a quick look at the standings going into this race. Antonio Felix da Costa continues to lead the championship with 77 points, 9 ahead of Nico Hulkenberg in the Arrows on 68. Robin Frain putting both Super Aguris into the top 3, 63 points for the Dutchman. Scott Dixon on 60 points. Both Simtex having a bit of a win or bust season at the moment. They either win or they come away with nothing. So maybe some more consistency needed for the Simtech team if they are to maintain their challenge for both championships. Andre Lotterer, the meat and the Simtech sandwich there on 55 points, 1 ahead of Stoffel Van Dorn. Sebastian Buemi in the BAR, equal on points with Kevin Magnussen in the AGS, 46 points apiece there. Takuma Sato still within the top 10 on 45 points, but not racing anymore. His seat has been taken by Sebastian Bourdais, who won on his return to the series last time out. So Sato maybe not finding his way back into a race seat anytime soon. As Kazuki Nakajima in the other Onyx, 36 points for him and he is in P10. On to the teams. Super Aguri, unsurprisingly, with both of their drivers in the top 3 in the standings there. 140 points for the Japanese team and they head up the team standings. Simtech 20 points behind in second, then Onyx on 106 and Arrows on 95. AGS there on 82 points, head of BMS Scuderia on 76, then BAR, Midlands, Minardi, 40 Corsi, all avoiding relegation as it stands. Tom, this league, very competitive at the moment. It's only 20 points between the top 2. That could change with 1 race victory.
Yeah, and with Da Costa down in 18th place on the grid, he needs a strong result here to maintain his status as championship leader. And can anyone take that away from him by the end of this? And with Super Gary up there as well, they can't afford too many mistakes if they want to clinch the team's championship this season. With Simtek's pace, we know what Simtek can do, but Simtek's reliability has been somewhat of a regular occurrence this season.
Well, the reliability might not necessarily be there, but their pace certainly is, because Scott Dixon is on pole by half a second to Sebastian Bourdais in the Onyx. A fantastic job there from the Kiwi to get the job done in qualifying. Stoffel Van Dorn making it 2 Simtex in the top 3. Kevin Magnussen What can he do from 4th in the AGS here today? Marco Andretti, a strong qualifying from Manor, who need a result here today, ahead of Nico Hulkenberg on row 3. Nelson Piquet Jr. on debut in P7 on row 4. Robin Frains in P8 ahead of Kazuki Nakajima and Andre Lotterer, still fighting for the championship this season. Alex Albon heads up row 6 ahead of the BAR driver of Sebastian Buemi. Then Pascal Wehrlein and Nick de Vries make up row 7, the Formula E duo there. Marco Wittmann on debut, P15 ahead of fellow debutant Danny Junkendaya. That is row 8 for you. Kamui Kobayashi on row 9 alongside our championship leader Antonio Felix da Costa. Not the greatest of qualifiers from him, he will want to move forward in the race. Simone Di Silvestro and Roy Nissany are together on row 10, ahead of Tom Christensen and Jaime Alguersuari on row 11. Row 12, Lewis Williamson in a potentially one-off appearance for Midland, alongside his teammate Paul di Resta, out-qualifying his Scottish teammate at his first attempt. Mika Salo in 25th, and Tatiana Calderon propping up the field in 26th and last. Scott Dixon on pole by half a second, Tom. I mean, we've seen this so many times. He's quick, but is the car necessarily reliable?
Well, we saw last season where both Dixon and Van Dorn retired with mechanical issues. Let's hope that doesn't happen here this season. With Dixon on pole and Van Dorn in third, can they last the distance this time?
So, Scott Dixon on pole, Sebastian Bourdais wanting to make it 2 from 2 today from second on the grid. Van Dorn in third ahead of Magnussen in fourth. And we are off and away for the League One Birmingham Superprix. A fantastic start there from Dixon. While it looks like Sebastian Bourdais has bogged down, he's already down to P5. Oh, Hulkenberg scraping the barrier there as he tries to take the outside line. And what a start by Marco Andretti there. Going from P5 up into P3. A rocket ship start for the American driver there. Paul di Resta getting it all wrong as he's now fighting to not be in last, with Mika Salo right behind him there. So Scott Dixon rocketing off the line, and Magnussen's into P2 there. He's also had a brilliant start into second place. Marco Andretti's in third ahead of Stoffel Van Dorn, but Bourdais bogging down off the line, and he's gone from second to fifth. Not the start that our most recent race winner will have wanted.
The PK down the inside of Robin Frains for 7th place, but he can't quite make the move stick, so he has to slot back in behind further ahead. Got Hulkenberg all over the back of Bourdais, who's made a terrible start from the front row and is now having to fend off the German for 5th position.
So we were looking at PK trying to get past Robin Frains at P7. The graphic says that the move has not been done yet. Here is your race leader, Scott Dixon, already over a second clear. He was half a second faster than anyone else in qualifying. The power of that Simtech very evident here today. As on the first lap, he's already 1.4 seconds ahead of Kevin Magnussen as we look at Kazuki Nakajima having the door shut in his face by Alexander Albon in the Manor. So Dixon leads. Magnussen and Andretti both having very strong starts, headed Van Dorn. Bourdais going backwards down to fifth. Hulkenberg's in sixth. And here are the two BMS Scuderia Italias scrapping over position, and that might well be team orders there between the BMS duo, because Andre Lotterer is in the fight for this championship and he will not want to be held up by Piquet Jr. if it can be helped.
And Piquet Jr. down the inside of Lotterer again, look. Oh, really coming together. Oh, Piquet, you don't want to be doing that too much, mate. Got Alex Albon right behind you now as well because of that error, but seems to have got away with it by the looks of it. And looking at Marco Wittmann on his debut in the Grand Prix World Series, 13th so far after starting 15th, so he's made a good start to his Grand Prix World Series career.
1 minute 7.6 from Scott Dixon, the early fastest lap of this race, and he has a gap of 2 seconds. He's wasting no time in clearing off into the lead of this race. Dixon looking to add another victory to Simtek's campaign this season. They've been very win or bust so far this season. They've either won the race or scored few or no points. And it's been an interesting season from Scott Woodward and the team, going very much in the direction of power for his cars. And it works in getting your cars up the grid in qualifying and getting track position, but it all comes to naught if your cars can't make it to the end of the race. We don't wish any bad luck to befall them at all. Scott Woodward's a very popular team principal within the Grand Prix World Series, finally getting some results after the rotten luck that he has endured, not just in the Grand Prix World Series in Season 1, but also in our Group C challenge that we ran last year, was in position to fight for the championship, but just did not have the luck. And Scott Woodward's finally got race victories on the board this season, and as the saying goes, everyone liked that. So we love to see the Simtech team do well, but sometimes it comes with its own downfall. They have the speed, but not necessarily the reliability.
So with Andretti third and Albon 10th, this would be a good haul of points for Sam Hull and for the Manor team in their quest for survival. I think they may go ahead of Minardi as it stands in the championship, but they would get 16 points from this race with Manor. They came into this, how many points did they have come into this? 21, and they would go ahead of Minardi as it stands. So out of the bottom three with Manor, that would push 40 into the bottom three.
So Robin Fraines just dubbed down the inside of Nico Hulkenberg there. That is a championship battle right there between those two. Hulkenberg second in the standings and Robin Fraines third in the standings. So championship leader is Antonio Felix da Costa. Not even in the top 15 at the moment. It's not been a great day so far for the Portuguese racer, but the only way is forward, as they say. Can he make up positions from where he is currently in the race? This is a good opportunity for Fraines and Hulkenberg actually to make some more ground up on da Costa in the championship. Either of them could take the lead in the championship should they get the desired results, but we still have a long way to go. And right on cue, there is a graphic saying that Antonio Felix da Costa is P19, so not even anywhere near the points at the moment as our championship leader, who has been a model of consistency so far. Tom, he scored points at all but one race so far. He retired from, I think it was Fuji, he retired from earlier on this season, and just making the most of his good point scoring finishes to get the job done, as that is Bourdais down the inside of Van Dorn for P4. So Bourdais trying to make up for his bad start earlier on, getting back past the Simtech into fourth position, as we now look at Daniel Junkendaya on his debut. He started P16, he's now in P15, so maybe not quite the progress we might have expected from the Spanish driver, but a solid drive so far.
Marco Wittmann's got ahead of Sebastian Buemi for 12th place, and Wittmann's getting away from Buemi now by the looks of it, although Buemi's trying to fight back as they go into that fast left hand as they come through now. I don't think Buemi managed to do it on that occasion, so he stays behind Wittmann as they come towards the end of the lap. Wittmann will need to try and get away as quick as he can and get on the tail of the Onyx of Kazuki Nakajima.
A little bit of a train behind Wittmann at the moment. He's got a gap of 0.9 to Nakajima ahead of him, but then behind him he's got Sebastian Buemi, Pascal Wehrlein and Danny Junkendaya. So Wittmann very much under pressure here, but making the most of his opportunities to move forward as well. So we will keep an eye on his progress as the race goes on. We're on lap 6 out of 59, 1/10th distance so far in the League 1 Birmingham Superprix. As Buemi looking down the inside now of Marco Wittmann for P12, and the Swiss is going to make the move stick. A lovely textbook overtake there from the BAR driver. Started this race in P12, he's now in P12.
And will Wittmann come back from that into the next turn? We do sometimes see drivers fight back at the very next turn. You can see a 40 of Roy Nissani down the inside of what looks like Paul de Resta. So they come into the right hand and he goes through.
So De Resta so far this season has been one of the stars, it has to be said. He's done some really good drives with the Midland car that he's got. Today not so much, he's down in 24th position, having started P24 actually, so it's as you were for De Resta. But we've become more accustomed to seeing the Scotsman running up the front, Tom, so at the moment just not really working out for himself or for the Midland team.
No, and I thought going into this race, I thought Midland would be on the back foot in terms of thinking about scraping off relegation. Well, with the way Manor are going about their business, Prost trying to get into the points, they don't want to be feeling too comfortable at this point with this being still so many rounds to go, as Nakajima puts a move on PK, so PK beginning to struggle after the opening half a dozen laps.
So PK had a fantastic qualifying session and puts a P7 on debut. He's looking down the inside of Nakajima again, so he's feeling racy here, and can he make the move? No. That was quite close between those two. I thought he might have cut across his front wing there. So PK started in P7. It's now down to 11, outside of the points, but still a long way to go here. There is time for PK to yet bring home some points on debut. As Alguersuari's off. Now, is that mechanical Or it does look mechanical, I'm afraid, Tom. An engine problem, and he's even on fire, so it's a Prost barbecue today down in the pit lane. What will you be serving? Burgers? Hot dogs?
I'm not the biggest fan of barbecues, but I wouldn't mind... this may sound a bit of a controversial one, but maybe pita breads with hummus or something like that?
I was absolutely on board with that until you said hummus. Pita bread's absolutely fine, but no. Anyway, let's not get too much into barbecues here. It's only going to make me hungry. But I can already see the queue of team principals down in the pit lane waiting for the Prost team to break out the barbecue there. Here is Scott Dixon in first place, 6.4 seconds now the gap to Kevin Magnussen in P2. Now, bear this in mind, Tom. Kevin Magnussen was nearly dropped from the AGS team earlier on in the season. Phil Kinch was not at all happy with the progress that he was making. But it all seems as though Magnussen has had a bit of a kick up the backside after that, because Phil Kinch was ready to drop him and say adios to him, or whatever goodbye is in Danish. Since then, Magnussen has absolutely turned on the form. He's been right up there and is currently running in P2 on for a podium. It's been a mega turnaround from Kevin Magnussen, and I think it's absolutely vindicated Phil Kinch's decision to keep him on.
Well, he's proving his worth now as Magnussen, in his debut Grand Prix World Series season, in second place in the Birmingham Superprix, and looking at where he's ended up in the championships so far. Get my tables up. Kevin Magnussen so far this season, I'm just trying to see, I'm looking at the wrong table at the moment. So Kevin Magnussen so far, he has picked up, he's 8th in the championship so far. He's picked up a 6th place finish, or a couple of 6th place finishes, a couple of 7th place finish, and second last time out in Turkey. So he's doing a really fine job right now, is Kevin Magnussen.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, Alex Albon has just been overtaken by Kazuki Nakajima for P9, so the Anglo-type losing out there. Chris Cavaney has just got in touch by the YouTube live chat, saying at Leighton House, Will Power says that the ECU wasn't cooled enough in the pit lane before the race. I'm not really sure how that translates to a loose wheel, but there you go. Racing driver excuse there from the Leighton House team. Motorsport Mike saying that goodbye in Danish is farvel. I'm hoping I pronounced that correctly, so thank you very much, Mike. Getting a little bit of a Danish lesson there. Here is Marco Andretti in P3. He's having a fantastic race so far. Started P5, he did really well in qualifying. Now up into P3. Manor yet to get off the board in terms of podiums so far this season. Haven't really got the results, and they are fighting relegation at the moment. So, yeah. Andretti turning it around for the Manor team at the moment, and Albon is there in P9 as well. This is a result that Sam Hall will be welcoming with open arms if this is how it goes to the end. Well, he'll be hoping for an even better finish, won't he, Tom? But if this is a running order at the end of the race with Andretti in P3 and Albon in P9, I'm sure he'd be happy with that.
Well, what I was going to say was, Balday's just been in the pits, Topher, whilst you were talking about that. Has he got a problem of some sort?
It is very early for a scheduled pit stop, so I imagine there is some sort of issue there for Sebastian Bourdais, our winner last time out in Istanbul. Not going to plan so far for himself or for the Onyx team. Nakajima is in P8. So a few points coming their way at the moment as Nissani pulls over to the side of the road with suspension failure. So not good news. And he's even put into the barrier. He lost control of it there with the suspension failure. And there's even more carnage. Da Costa, our championship leader, has had an issue there. He's got 2 wheels off his wagon there. What has happened to the Portuguese driver here? We're looking at the replay now. Talk us through this, Tom.
Right, he must have clipped both barriers in the chicane. He's hit the inside of it first and then the outside of it on the exit of it. That's a really costly error there for Da Costa.
We're getting one more look at it here. It's the exact same mistake that Valentino Rossi made in the League 2 race. So following Kamui Kobayashi through the chicane, and just turns in a bit too early, clips the inside of the barrier, throws him to the outside, and that is a lot of damage on a Super Guri, and our championship leader's race is run. So 2 retirements in a short space of time. Roy Nissani having a suspension failure, which threw him off into the barrier, and he has retired. And Antonio Felix da Costa now out as well. And one final replay here And yeah, you can see him clipping the barrier and just ripping the rear wheel off, which in turn takes off the front right wheel as he careers into the outside barrier there. Not a good move there by Da Costa. He needs the points if he's going to maintain his championship challenge. And meanwhile, Nico Hülkenberg and Robin Freins, second and third in the championship, they'll be saying thank you very much.
Well, one driver most certainly is Scott Dixon, because as it stands, he would be leading the championship.
And Chris Cavani getting in touch. The comment they made earlier about Leighton House was actually about the Prost's car and Jaime Alguersuari, so my apologies for that, misinterpreting what the quote was. But 2 retirements in the space of a few seconds there. That's 3 drivers down after Jaime Alguersuari's earlier engine fire. Scott Dixon now 8.7 seconds in the lead and absolutely on form here today. There he is, right on cue. Really enjoying this race at the moment. It's now up to 9 seconds. He's in a really nice rhythm here. He doesn't need to push the car too hard though. He'll just want to get it to the end and make sure he brings home those 25 points for himself, for Simtek and for Scott Woodward.
So Dixon's lead 9 seconds now. Van Dorn in 4th place. And as it stands, Simtek would move into the lead of the team's championship, as far as I know. And 3 drivers out of the race so far. Bordeaux must have come in for an unscheduled stop. So I don't know how many more times he's going to be coming into the pits, but that's a really bitter blow for Ryan Ferris and his boys.
It could potentially be an electrical issue, as that's an issue that they can get back to the pits from and then just do a simple Control-Alt-Delete on the car. As Andre Lotterer is now under attack from Nico Hülkenberg. And oh, I thought they were going to bang wheels there. That was very close between the BMS and the arrows there. Hülkenberg getting out of that at just the right moment. Lotterer, he is very much in the hunt for this championship, as is Hülkenberg. Neither of them wanting to let it go. And here is Nelson Piquet Jr. up into P9 now. He has passed Alexander Albon. So potentially on course to get himself some points on debut. Still a long way to go. We're only on lap 13 out of 59 here in the League One Birmingham Superprix. Riding on board with Alexander Albon in the Manor. 2 Manors in the top 10 at the moment. Sam Hall will probably be happy with that, although given how his season 1 went, Tom, I'm thinking maybe he would have wanted more results earlier on in the season.
Albon down the inside of Piquet for 9th place now, so Albon continuing to make up ground, and you can see right behind Piquet is the BAR of Sebastian Buemi. Now BAR once again have been disappointing today actually, both cars outside of the points.
No, De Vries, he's been a good asset to the BAR team since he came into the fold. First of all in place of Sebastian Buemi, but then Tom Butterworth took the decision to actually do a complete switcheroo. He brought Buemi back in and dropped John-Eric Byrne down into the reserve role. Our reigning champion out of a race here, a rather sensational turn of events there at BAR. And De Vries started off his campaign quite well actually, a good amount of points finishes, but at the moment running in P14, so not going all to plan so far for the Dutchman at the moment, but we still have a long way to go, Tom.
Most certainly do. Magnussen over 10 seconds adrift now, so Dixon continuing to pull away, but is he pushing the car too much at this stage? Marco Andretti looking very, very good in 3rd position ahead of Stoffel Van Dorn, and riding ball with the front wing there of Nico Hülkenberg as he tries to get through on Andre Lotterer. He tried to get past him on the previous lap, but couldn't quite do so. Can he get into the slipstream and have a go this time? I don't think so on this occasion.
We just caught a brief glimpse there of Kevin Magnussen all out on his own at the moment. Phil Kinch will be happy that he's running in P2 at the moment. We're now riding on board with Nico Hülkenberg in P7 behind his fellow German Andre Lotterer. A nice little scrap developing here for 5th place with Robin Freins up there as well. Plenty of overtakes and action going on so far this race. I believe in the League 2 race we saw a record number of overtakes for the Grand Prix World Series. Wherever you look, there's an overtake happening. There's always something going on. Not quite getting the same level of overtakes in the League 1 race so far, but we are only on lap 15 out of 59, a quarter of the way through this race. Still plenty of time for some action to happen. There is your race leader, Scott Dixon in the Simtek, 11.1 seconds ahead of Kevin Magnussen. Marco Andretti, P3 ahead of Stoffel Van Dorn. Robin Freins just holding off Andre Lotterer at the moment with Hülkenberg Company, as Lotterer is actually now past Freins. So we haven't seen it on camera, but Lotterer through into 5th position, frames down into 6th. Important for the championship because Antonio Felix da Costa, our points leader, is out of the race after crashing all on his own earlier on. So Lotterer, Frains and Hulkenberg all wanting to maximise their opportunities from this race, as Hulkenberg's now looking at Frains as well. Frains going backwards in this race, now playing defensive again instead of getting back onto the rear of Andre Lotterer's BMS Scuderia Italia. So a lot to play for in this race. Marco Andretti, a fine performance from him so far in P3. Was in contention for victory earlier on in the season, Tom, if you can remember back that far, which I'm sure you can. Andretti could have won in Chennai had it not been for a reliability issue later on in the race. Now trying to prove that he does indeed have the power and the consistency to run at the front.
Andretti doing a fine job in this race so far for the Manor team, who are in desperate need of points to get out of the bottom 3. It's going to be an interesting final day when it comes to the last round of the season at Laguna Seca. But there's still a lot of way to go yet in terms of the number of points you can still get between now and the end of the championship. Is Albon in trouble?
Albon looks like he might be going slowly here. He's just conceded position to Wayman. He's now conceded to Wehrlein. And yeah, there we go. It's on the digital readout. A throttle problem for Alex Albon. Now, can he recover his manner back to the pits? He's not that far away from the pit lane, actually, I believe, so he might be able to make this work. But it's going to drop him all the way down into the bottom reaches of the field. De Vries now goes through into P13. Albon, who's doing so well earlier, fighting against the likes of Nakajima and Nelson Piquet Jr., but now going backwards with a throttle problem. I believe he is going to make it back to the pits, so the team will be able to fix whatever issue it is and get him back out on track again. And yeah, we just saw it briefly there on the graphic. Alex Albon into the pits. That's going to put him out of contention for the points, I should imagine. But there's still a long way to go. Anything can happen in this race.
So that promotes Sebastian Buemi and BAR into the points. Wehrlein goes up to 11th in the AGS. And Marco Wittmann up to 12th in the Prost.
So Wittmann running a decent race so far. He started in P15 for his debut. Now up into 12th. A little bit helped by the attrition of those ahead of him, but he's still getting the job done. And only a few seconds off some potential points here at the moment. So could maybe turn this around later on. But we're only on lap 18 out of 59. We all know in the Grand Prix World Series, things can happen very quickly.
So looking at the gaps, Magnussen over 13 seconds behind Dixon. Andretti further right, and Hulkenberg's in the pits now for Arrows.
Nico Hulkenberg, the first of the front runners to come in for a scheduled pit stop. Joining him in the pit lane, Pascal Wehrlein, Marco Wittmann, and someone else who's just dropped off the graphic there. Didn't quite catch who that was. Here are the first round of pit stops, and Nico Hulkenberg onto a two-stop strategy and already coming out onto the track again. Got a lot of ground to make up here. It looks like he's got himself a bit of clear air now, which he can use to his advantage. But two-stop strategies were proven to be the way to go in the League 2 race, Tom. The only driver going on to the one-stop strategy was Antonio Fuoco, and he did get a third-place finish out of that, but ultimately the winning strategy was a two-stop.
I would think so too. We saw a lot of drivers coming into the pits at the end of this lap. I think we're going to see a lot of undercuts being done in the first round of stops here, Topher.
You know what? I think you might be right on that one. We've had the first few drivers come into the pits and we will monitor their progress as we wait for the others to come in as well. Dixon and Magnussen and Van Dorn have all continued. Andretti and Lotterer are now both pitting a lap later. So we will see where they come out in relation to their rivals. We're looking for where Lotterer comes out in relation to Nico Hulkenberg. Andretti, I'm sure, will be ahead of Hulkenberg at this point. The undercut was proven to be quite powerful around here, but I don't think it'll be powerful enough for Hulkenberg to get the better of Andretti at this point, who's actually already out of the pits. There is Hulkenberg trying to get past Paul di Resta there, and he does get the move done down into turn 1. Hulkenberg into P15, and he's behind both Andretti and Lotterer, and Bourdais up into P3. He had the earlier pit stop due to what we believe might have been an electrical issue. But Bourdais, he won't be going to the end of the race from that. He will need to pit again at least one more time.
Dixon's in the pits now for Syntec. Now he's built up such a huge margin over everyone else. This should not be anything problematic with this stop.
They don't need to rush anything. They can just take it easy, make sure he gets out onto circuit in good time. Looks like they've done a good job there. So 22 laps of fuel on board, so they are going to go for one more stop here. It's a Syntec team. Magnussen takes the lead of the race, but he's yet to come in. There is Van Dorn in second. He's yet to pit. Frains hasn't come into pits either, currently running in third. Dixon out in fourth. So holding on to the net lead of the race, and looks like he's right behind Frains here. So a little bit of traffic for the Kiwi. But on the fresher tyres, it should not take him at all long to dispatch the Super Aguri here. In fact, he's already looking down the inside. And yep, easy enough for Dixon on fresh tyres. Gets the move done, and he's now still in the net lead of the race and in clear air.
Dixon can now pull away from Frains. He's got a bit of clear track ahead of him. Kevin Magnussen temporarily leads the League One race. Van Dorn in second. And just thinking about those who will be pitting very soon. And looking at Lottery. In fact, Lottery got ahead of Hulkenberg. Or he's still ahead of Hulkenberg after pitting. So he's right on the tail of Bourdais, who pitted earlier on. But that was an unscheduled stop. So I don't know how long it'll be before Bourdais will be back in the pits.
And Lewis Williamson there holding off Marco Andretti. So Andretti has come into the pits and is on a fresher rubber. Williamson up there in P8 by virtue of not having come into the pits yet. Holding off the manor at the moment and doing a fine job in defence there. So Williamson trying to prove his worth for a full-time race seat for the remainder of the season. He is here as a one-off appearance, as it looks like he now concedes to Marco Andretti. He does indeed. But Michael Gillespie decided to bring in Williamson as a replacement for Thiago Montero just for today. But if Williamson could put in a good enough performance, that might, just might, convince Michael Gillespie to put him in for the rest of the season.
Dixon continuing to close in on his teammate Van Dorn, winding down the gap whilst Van Dorn is on his old set of tyres. I've forgotten of which tyre suppliers that each team is using, because we don't talk about which team is using what tyre suppliers in comparison to others, do we, Topher?
The top 4 teams in the championship, which is BAR, Arrows, Prost and Manor, they are all on Goodyear tyres. I know that for a fact. Super Aguri is on Firestone tyres for this season. I know that for a fact because, well, they're my team. I know what I'm running. Other than that, I can't really remember either. I probably need to go and find my notes somewhere, buried in this pile of paperwork that I've got. But yeah, the majority of the field will be running on Goodyears. It is the best tyre in terms of the grip range that they allow, so a lot of the team principals electing to go for that. As Stoffel Van Dorn now holding up Scott Dixon a bit. This isn't necessarily for position at the moment because Dixon has pitted, Van Dorn has not. But Van Dorn now lets him through and Dixon into P2. Only Magnussen is up the road now, but the Dane yet to come into the pits himself.
So Dixon has disposed of Van Dorn. Oh, De Resta's out.
Paul De Resta pulling to the side of the circuit, and what problem has befallen the Midland there? We're on the replay now. It looks like he might be going a bit slowly already, so it might well be mechanical. And yep, there it is. There is smoke bellowing out of the back of that Midland, an engine problem for Paul De Resta, and he is out of his home Grand Prix. There's only one Midland left in this race in the form of Lewis Williamson, who has just pitted recently, so the Midland team may be giving that car the once over just to make sure there aren't any potential problems with that side of the garage. But Paul De Resta out of the race, and that is a real shame for Michael Gillespie. He's trying to avoid that relegation battle. He's not in it at the moment, but into the second half of the season, who knows what's going to happen. He'll want to take as many points as he can get. We're looking at Tom Christensen here with one of the Arrows cars behind him. That's Kamui Kobayashi, who's been very disappointing in the last few races. It has to be said, Tom. He won our season opening race in Taupo, but since then, just nothing. There's nothing to talk about for Kamui Kobayashi since then. Just has been falling gradually further and further down the order since leading after the opening race.
Yeah, it's been disappointing from Kobayashi. We expected him to be taking advantage of Fern's and Hartley's misfortunes to be going for the championship this year, and he hasn't quite been able to do it.
So Kamui Kobayashi, he would have hoped for better today. but as it stands, it's been not just a disappointing race, but also a disappointing season, still on the winner's board, but not doing so much after that. There is Kevin Magnussen, having now pitted, getting past Sebastian Bourdais, and behind him Hulkenberg, now trying to get past Bourdais as well. Magnussen's in a very real contention for a podium here today. Maybe doesn't quite have the pace of this man here, Scott Dixon, doesn't quite have the pace to challenge for the victory as it stands with Magnussen, and very good shout of a podium. And here is your current form and the lap times last time through. So Dixon the fastest lap ahead of Nakajima, going quite well actually down there. Buemi sets in the third fastest lap time on the last time around. Albon and Wittmann also putting in some very good laps as well. So plenty of potential for overtakes going on if those ones in the midfield are putting in those sorts of lap times. Meanwhile, here is Nico Hulkenberg going down the inside of Sebastian Bourdais. So Bourdais, he had to pit early on, and maybe his tyres are now starting to suffer as he's going backwards. He's been overtaken by Magnussen, now by Hulkenberg, and he's got Kazuki Nakajima, his teammate, right behind him. And Bourdais looks like he's not really putting up that much of a fight against teammates, is he? Actually, no, he's holding on around the outside. So not really playing the team game there. Nakajima on the better tyres at the moment, and forced to go the long way around by Bourdais. He does not want to give this up, does he? Bourdais was brought back into the team, into a race seat, as a replacement for Takuma Sato. He won his first race back in the championship last time out at Istanbul, seemingly still with a point to prove. Bourdais, he's now holding off his teammate here. I mean, this isn't what Ryan Ferris would have wanted for these two drivers. He wants them to get along, play fairly, and Bourdais still not letting him go, Tom.
Well, remember, Bourdais qualified on the front row, didn't he? So he's trying to make up as much ground as possible, but he's not doing his teammate Nakajima any favours, as Andre Lotto is about to be overtaken by Kevin Magnussen, who will be on fresher tyres than the German, and the Dane goes through.
So Magnussen really on a roll here. And I've actually just had a note handed to me for any of you who are following Twitter at the same time. Felix Rosenqvist is not going to be able to race at the next IndyCar round in Road America, and his replacement, Tom, Kevin Magnussen. That's in the real life world of IndyCar. Kevin Magnussen has just been confirmed to make his IndyCar debut.
That's just interesting then, because we've had both Haas drivers of last year joining the American series of IndyCar for this weekend's race in Road America.
So Kevin Magnussen doing a fantastic job here in Birmingham for P4, and now set for his real-life IndyCar debut. Kevin, if by some reason you are able to watch this, we wish you all the best for your new venture in IndyCar. So back to, shall we say, the important racing here, Tom? At least the virtual racing here in the Grand Prix World Series. Sebastian Buemi we ride on board with there in P9. He has got Robin Fraines right behind him in P10. They are chasing down Sebastian Bourdais in the Onyx and will try to get up to P8 and P9 respectively. Right behind them is Nelson Piquet Jr. trying to get points on debut in P11 at the moment, as Buemi down the inside of Bourdais, and Bourdais I don't think will be holding on to that P9 for much longer, Tom.
No, I think he'll be coming into the pits very, very soon, will the Frenchman, as he tries to get back through on the BAR but can't quite do so. And now he's going to be holding up the BAR, well, not the BAR, sorry, the Super Aguri of Robin Fraines.
Getting very close there, sorry Tom. Getting very close there between Fraines and Piquet, and also to the back of Bourdais there. I thought that Fraines and Piquet might have banged wheels a little bit there as they tried to find their way past the Onyx. It's proving to be a little bit of a mobile chicane at the moment. And Bourdais, we know, has incredible speed, as proven by his race win last time out, but just doesn't have the tyre life at the moment. It's as simple as that. The tyres play a big factor here, as Fraines looks down the inside, but Bourdais shutting the door, and Fraines is now susceptible to Piquet Jr. behind him. A lot of action going on here for the final points paying positions, with Bourdais on very old tyres at the moment, pitted at the end of the second lap, I believe it was, Tom, maybe the third lap. So already on tyres that are over 20 laps old, he will surely have to pit soon, as Fraines down the inside into P9. Piquet Jr. will be the next driver to overtake the Onyx there, but Buemi has now cleared off away from that battle, and Fraines will be looking to do the same here.
And Fraines will be looking to get past Buemi very soon as well. Bourdais down to 10th place, Piquet needing to get past that Onyx as soon as he can, because he's going to have De Vries, Albon, Wittmann and Verline closing in on him. And it's hard to think that PK is battling for the final points position when he qualified so well.
It's all dependent on fuel loads, I believe. We haven't quite seen what the fuel loads are in terms of how far they're going into their second stint, but we still have half of the race here to go. We're on lap 28 out of 59 as PK Jr. looks down the inside of Bourdais. Bourdais driving so defensively at the moment, and he's able to find the grip around the outside when it matters to hold off these advances from the likes of Buemi, Frames, and now PK Jr. PK's in the slipstream of the Onyx now. Is he going to get down the inside of the Onyx now? He's trying to get the grunt down the inside, and yes, he does it. PK up into P10 and Bourdais now down out of the points. He will surely need to come into the pit soon.
I like to think so as well. Scott Dixon 10 seconds in front now of Van Dorn, who still hasn't pitted yet in this race, but he's got a 15-second margin over Marco Andretti. So by the time Van Dorn does rejoin onto the circuit, he's going to be right in the thick of it, isn't he?
So it'll be a very important next few laps for Scott Dixon. He needs to make sure he can get as much of a gap as possible to the likes of Andretti, Magnussen, Lotterer, so he can come out in some clear air. At the moment, Dixon looking very comfortable in the lead of this race. There is Lewis Williamson in the sole remaining Midland in his one-off appearance for the team, riding behind one of the Minardis. I believe that might have been Tom Christensen that he's behind at the moment. It is indeed, looking at the helmet there. So Williamson not troubling the points at the moment, but Midland not with the most powerful car at the moment, and Williamson a newcomer to the series. So were we really expecting that much anyway, Tom?
Sorry, can you just repeat that for Topher?
I mean, not that I want to say anything bad about Williamson. He's a fine driver, but were we really expecting anything out of him, given that the Midland is one of those teams that's fighting against relegation? As Van Dorn into the pits.
Yeah, Michael Gillespie was impressed with him during the Young Drivers Test last week and wanted to give him a chance, which I don't blame him. But Van Dorn, this is a really important stop. What are we expecting in terms of the time? Ideally under 10 seconds. It's 9.7. He's out on his way, but he's going to be right in the thick of it, as I predicted.
So lighting up the rear tyres as he came out of his pit box, and he has rejoined in P7. Right ahead of Sebastian Buemi there. Now that is crucial actually, because there's a little bit of a gap to Kazuki Nakajima in front, so that's actually played out really well for the Simtech team, because he's now got the clear air to get those tyres up to temperature and set off after this man here, Scott Dixon, his Simtech teammate. Dixon will have to come in for his own pit stop pretty soon as well. He's on the two-stop strategy. Marco Andretti there trying to get past Kevin Magnussen, or has he just been overtaken by Magnussen actually? Yes, Magnussen has just got past for P2 actually, so Magnussen absolutely flying here today. Surely on for what would be at least a podium for the AGS driver. He's 30 seconds close enough to off the lead at the moment. I believe both he and Dixon still have one more pit stop to make, so Magnussen looking very good for P2 here today. Maybe just a bit too far off of Dixon's challenge for the race victory here today.
Kevin Magnussen pulling away now from Andretti, so can he make the tyres go the distance and catch Dixon? He's got to be worried about Van Dorn as well, because by the time Van Dorn does go past, Magnussen will need to pass him on track when he comes in for his second stop.
Is Van Dorn on a one-stop strategy here, Tom? Because he's pitted around about the halfway mark, which would imply that he is on the one-stop strategy.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Van Dorn has just pitted a lap or two ago, but Magnussen will still have another stop to make. He's on the two-stop.
So crucial times here for, well, pretty much the entire field actually. It's pretty crucial. Dixon has a lead of 28.6 seconds over Kevin Magnussen and is absolutely dominating this League One Birmingham Superprix at the moment. As we look at Nick de Vries trying to get past Bourdais now. Bourdais still going backwards and dropping like a stone through the order. Now look at that train coming up behind him. We've got de Vries there, as well as Alex Albon, Marco Wittmann and Pascal Wehrlein in the other AGS. Plenty still to come in the second half of this race, Tom. A lot of action, a lot of overtaking. I don't really know what's going to happen. This you can never really tell in the Grand Prix World Series, can you?
I think we're going to be seeing a lot more in the second half of this race than we did in the first one. And think we're just looking to see how the pit stops play out in the end as De Vries all over the back of Sebastian Bourdais for 11.
Bourdais still driving very defensively here today. The drivers are getting past him when they take the right opportunity, but Bourdais driving as well as he can given the tyres that he is on. He's on very old tyres now. We reckon around about 30 laps he's been on those now. So we ride on board with Kevin Magnussen running one of his best races so far in the Grand Prix World Series. I don't think he's got a podium yet this season, has he, Tom? I'm sure you'll correct me on that if I'm wrong. I'm just trying to look through my notes here. Actually, no, he finished second last time out in Turkey. How could I forget that? On for another second place finish in a row here today. So we talked about it earlier. Phil Kinch very nearly dropping K-Mag from his lineup. I'm pretty sure he will be very happy that he decided not to take that decision in the end.
I mean, looking at Williamson all over the back of the Minardi, looks like, isn't that Christensen? Is that Jochen Deyer who's trying to get past?
Tom Christensen is trying to get past there.
Yeah. Nakajima's passed Hulkenberg now for 5th place, so Hulkenberg's got a problem, it's Hulkenberg.
So Van Dorn also going past on Hulkenberg, who appears to be going slowly. So has he got some sort of mechanical issue? We haven't seen his digital readout yet, so we don't know exactly what the issue might be. But Van Dorn's up into P6 as well as Nakajima into P5. Here is Buemi coming onto the back of Nico Hulkenberg. And I think you're right, Tom. It looks like Hulkenberg doesn't need to have a problem. He's losing a lot of time here. And there it is on the digital readouts on the steering wheel, a throttle problem for the arrows there. And Hulkenberg, one of our championship contenders, in a race where the leader, Antonio Felix da Costa, has fallen by the wayside. He will have wanted to have scored as many points as possible. So, mega frustration there for the German. And is he going to pull off? It looks like he is pulling off to the side of the circuit here. Or is he just getting out of the way? Yes, he's pulled off to the side of the circuit there. Nico Hulkenberg, second in the championship and out of this race. So now it is advantage Robin Frains in 8th place. That will score him 4 championship points. He's currently 14 off the championship lead at the moment, so he would close in a bit. If he can get himself higher up into the order, he could fully benefit from that, maybe take the lead of the championship at the end of this race, although I imagine the likes of Dixon, Magnussen and Coe will have something to say about that. But our top 2 in the championship, Antonio Felix da Costa and Nico Hulkenberg, both out of the race.
That changes the picture in the championship a lot then. Finds with where he is in the race right now, he is 7th. That would not move him into the lead. Dixon's race victory would move him into the lead.
So a lot to play for here today. It's been win or bust so far for the SimTech team. They've either been winning or they've been retiring trying. But if Dixon can get another win here today, it will put him into the lead of the championship, and that will be very welcome for Scott Woodward and for the team. He has only one goal this season, and that is championship glory. But we now look at Nelson Piquet Jr. trying to dummy Sebastian Buemi into a mistake there, but end up running wide himself there. Like Piquet up there in 9th, trying to get into P8, not getting any sort of move done there. Here is Kevin Magnussen, almost half a minute off the lead of Scott Dixon at the moment. That AGS does have a good bit of power behind it, but not as much power as the SimTech of Scott Dixon. So, doesn't quite have the measure of the SimTech on race pace, but a podium I think will still be a very welcome result for him. As Marco Wittmann up the inside of Nick de Vries for P12. Wittmann showing that he does deserve his chance in the Grand Prix World Series and trying to make every opportunity count here.
And very much so. Look, de Vries is coming back at him though into the next right-hander as he is down the inside, and de Vries does not get the move done. Now he's falling back into the clutches of Verline and Jochen Deyer.
And Nick de Vries trying to have another look down the inside of Wittmann there again, but Wittmann shuts the door. And this has been a titanic battle between those 4 so far. One mistake and it could be curtain for any one of these drivers. Wittmann, de Vries, Verline and Jochen Deyer, 2 of these drivers are running their debut races this day, and they have a point to prove if they want to get full-time seats for the rest of the season and indeed the season 3. Verline now looking up the inside of Nick de Vries, and de Vries getting very defensive there, almost psyching Verline out of the overtake there. He jinks across in the braking zone. Maybe slightly dangerous there from de Vries, but I think that's just about borderline there, Tom.
Very online indeed, and Kazuki Nakajima under pressure now from Van Dorn, who's getting stuck behind him actually. So Van Dorn losing time in his quest to, well, challenge Dixon for the race win.
So looking at the onboard, looking back at Stoffel Van Dorn, trying to make the most of that power that he's got in the Simtek, the most powerful car on the grid. Is really good in straight lines. He gets a good amount of traction out of the corners as well. So Van Dorn getting ever closer to the back of the Japanese driver, looking to make the move through into P5. We've just gone through the last corner here. Can he make the move down into turn 1? He gets out of the slipstream, trying to make the most of that Simtek engine, and Nakajima cuts him off. Van Dorn gets out of the power, concedes that the move was not happening that time around, and Nakajima carries on to fight another day for P5.
I think Van Dorn will have the better straight line speed than the Onyx. So they come down this back straight as they head towards Halfords. I think Van Dorn should have this one. Down the inside he comes, and he's through before they get to the corner.
So Van Dorn getting the move done then. He's now got a gap of 3.7 seconds to Lotterer up the road. Lotterer is another driver who could stand to benefit from the demise of Da Costa and Hulkenberg, actually, because he's right there or thereabouts fighting for a championship, and he won earlier on this season. I'm trying to remember what race it was he won, actually. It was Japan. He won in Fuji. Thank you, Tom. He won in the Fuji race, and he is up there fighting for his championship and has every chance of actually going and getting the job done this season. But with Van Dorn bearing down on him, he'll want to try and stay ahead of the Belgian if he can, as Magnussen is into the pits from P2.
So where is Magnussen going to filter back out once he comes? He's probably going to rejoin ahead of Bourdais, but he's going to have some cars to pass when he comes back out, won't he?
So Andretti through into second place as a result of Magnussen pitting. And is Magnussen going to be able to head of Bourdais? He will hope so, given Bourdais' lack of pace at the moment. So no, there goes Bourdais. So Magnussen with another driver to overtake here. He's now into P10, still in good contention for a podium here today, but he now has work to do to try and get himself through the order. He will be hoping that those in front of him all come in for their second pit stops, as well as Lewis Williamson does right now, out of P18. Not fighting for the points at the moment is the Scotsman, but he might still be able to get a race finish out of this. Calderon into the pits as well in the Mastercard Lola, as Sebastian Buemi is fighting with Nelson Piquet Jr. there for P7. Buemi was ahead of the Brazilian earlier on. Those two with a mighty rivalry between those two. If you think back to... Oh, Marco Wittmann's retiring. Sorry about that, Tom. I know he's your debutant driver. Marco Wittmann with a problem there. Mechanical issue and his fine run. And oh, what's happened there? So, I'm trying to work out what's happened there. Maybe hitting a manhole cover or something. Sorry to interrupt you, Tom, but maybe hitting a manhole cover or something, because the car just disintegrated.
That was very strange, wasn't it? And Marco Wittmann's drive in the Prost has come to an end. That's a not good side for, well, for me, in the team's push for survival, considering that Manor are doing a really good job with one who's currently 7th and Andretti is pitted now in 8th. And here's a move from Kevin Magnussen to the inside of Bourdais, and he goes through.
Magnussen wasting no time in making a move stick. Bourdais has been a bit of a mobile chicane so far in this race, and Magnussen not wanting to get stuck behind the Onyx, and he is into P5. Now 8.3 seconds behind Robin Frames. He is still yet to pit. Van Dorn is on a one-stop strategy and is ahead on the road, but will the tyres work out for him? Andre Lotterer, there he is in P2, 36.1 seconds behind our dominant race leader Scott Dixon, seemingly enjoying life out front, just taking it easy, making sure that he gets to the end of this race and brings home another victory for the Simtek team. And that is Buemi, I think, down the inside. No, Buemi's down in P14, so he's actually... He's just got past Sarlo. So PK Jr. and Buemi both coming into the pits, now fighting with Mika Salo, but they will go up through the order later on as more pit stops transpire. So, and Dixon is into the pits now. So here is the crucial one, Tom. Where is Dixon going to filter out into the traffic? I reckon he will be ahead of Lotterer, but it's going to take a solid pit stop from the Simtek team here.
He was well over half a minute ahead of him, so there's no problem with Dixon. He'll rejoin well ahead of Lotterer as he comes back out.
And Christensen having to wait a bit there for Dixon. Dixon not wanting to wait around at all, and he comes out still in the lead. So a good pit stop from the Simtek team. They've done everything they need to do. Now it is just down to Scott Dixon to bring the car home and bring home another victory.
So Dixon was 36 seconds ahead of Lotterer before he came in. The gap between himself and Van Dorn, it's not actually 18 seconds. We'll just wait to see what the gap is when Van Dorn goes through sector 1.
Lotterer in the pits. He is now going to the end of this race. A contender for a podium here as well. But where he filters out into the traffic is going to be very important indeed. The gap between Dixon and Van Dorn, 13.4 seconds. So Dixon very comfortable up in front at the moment.
Now can Dixon maybe go and set the fastest up? He could get the clean sweep here in Birmingham.
That is very possible. We haven't had that many Grand Slams in the Grand Prix World Series, but if Dixon does indeed go the distance and get the job done, that will be one for the Kiwi. Pole position, lead every lap, take the fastest lap and win the race, but he still has 19 laps left to go. Here in Birmingham, we ride on board with Andre Lotterer, trying to get past Kazuki Nakajima. Lotterer has just come into the pits for his final pit stop, and Nakajima finding the grip around the outside. There's a lot of grip on the outside of Halford's corner there, and Nakajima making the most of it there to stay ahead of Andre Lotterer. Lotterer won't be wanting to stay stuck behind the Onyx as Robin Frames now into pits from P3. Where is he going to filter out into traffic? This is very important times for the pit crews here today, trying to get their drivers out into the best track position that they can. So looking at the graphic frames, down past Nakajima and Lotterer now. Will he come out ahead of Di Silvestro? Yes, he will, because Di Silvestro has come into the pits. PK Jr. goes through and he's behind Frames. So Frames out into P7 ahead of PK Jr. right there. Frames on the fresher tyres, he can now set off after Andre Lotterer and try and take back a few more positions. And Lotterer having another look at Kazuki Nakajima here and finally down the inside of the Japanese driver. Lotterer into P5 and now off after Marco Andretti.
We saw that Lotterer getting past Nakajima into 5th place. Next time up for him is 4th place Marco Andretti. Andretti on course for 12 points. We'll take Manor out of the bottom 3 with 40, Prost, Markov, Lola, Minardi and Midland not scoring. That'll be a massive boost for Sam Hole and his squad.
The battle to avoid relegation is so important in League One. If you finish in the bottom 3 in the standings when it comes to the end of the season, you get relegated down into League 2. There's so much to play for. It's not just the drivers at the front fighting for the driver's title and for the team's title. You want to make sure that you stay in League 1 going into Season 3. It's not a good day at the moment for the Midland team, for the 40-40 team, and most of all for the Prost team. Both of their cars out of this race and they are fighting to avoid relegation at the moment. Still a long way to go in this championship. It could all turn around. You just never know when it comes to the Grand Prix World Series, and that's why we love it.
He just seemed to freeze, lose a position to Jon Condea, and now he's lost another one to Verline. So is he carrying a problem? Yes, he is.
So it's an oil leak and now an oil fire, and all very nearly a punt up the back there from Lewis Williamson and De Vries. And now he's hit the barrier and been caught out by it as well. He's just lost his rear wheel as a result of that. We saw earlier on in the League 2 race, the barriers are very unforgiving, even to those who are pulling off to the side of the circuit. So De Vries laying down some oil there, which we hope won't catch any other drivers out, but losing a wheel in the process of retiring.
Yeah, I mean, it was a strange one, wasn't it? And they are not on course to not score any points today. And Dixon now with a 1 minute 7.6 on that last lap. It's not the fastest lap of the race. I wonder if he is. I wonder if he's got the fastest lap point right now as Dixon. We'll find out at the end of the race if so. Stoff Van Don in second. Simtek on course for their 1-2 finish. I think they'll be their first 1-2 this season so far, if my memory serves correctly.
I'm just checking the championship tables as you say that. And yes, you are correct. It will be their first 1-2 finish of the season. Should they go the distance, we have 15 laps left to go here in Birmingham. And this man here, Scott Dixon, has been absolutely dominant here today. No one has even gone near him in terms of pace, and he's on course for a Grand Slam here today. He has a quarter of the race left to run. Still plenty of time for action to happen. Van Dorn in second. We're currently on for a Simtek 1-2. But Van Dorn on the one-stop strategy. Can he make those tyres last? He's got the advantage to Magnussen of 10.2 seconds. So Magnussen could put in a bit of a late charge here and try and take P2 off of Van Dorn, but he's got a long way to go if he is going to catch the Belgian by the end of the race. Marco Andretti there in P4, still hoping to get a podium out of this race if he can. Lotter is in P5 ahead of Nakajima. Then Robin Frains in 7th ahead of Piquet Jr., Buemi and Bourdais still holding on to P10 here. He had a problem earlier on that forced him into an unscheduled pit stop, but doing quite well actually. He was being overtaken left, right and centre earlier on, but holding on to a point here at the moment. So the day is not yet done for Bourdais. Can he bring home at least 1 point out of this?
So Albon's looking to try and get back into the points. He had that problem earlier on, didn't he, Topher? As you can see, Buemi about to lose a position to Bourdais. At least Bourdais managed to get himself back into the points in this race after that earlier problem he had, but he was running in the top 3 or the top 4, so he'll rue that mechanical issue. But at least he'll come away with something from this race.
So Bourdais starting P2 for this race. What could have been for the Frenchman had he not had that issue earlier in running in P10? I think he can call that a success, having dropped to the back earlier on in this race. He's done a fine job since his return to the Grand Prix World Series, trying to get past Sebastian Buemi here, his namesake in the BAR, but not able to find a way through just yet. Bourdais, who won last time out on his return to the Grand Prix World Series, with Ryan Ferris promoting him back into a race seat in place of the underperforming Takuma Sato. And what a decision that was from Ryan Ferris, because it earned him his first Grand Prix World Series victory as a team principal. As Bourdais now down the inside of Sebastian Buemi into P9. Brilliant there from Bourdais. He now seems to be fully back up to speed here.
So Bourdais coming back through the field. Next one up from him is Nelson Piquet Jr. on his debut in the Grand Prix World Series in 8th place. So Emma Featherstone's team on course for a 5th and an 8th. Owen Fines in 7th, looking rather lonely if I'm honest with you. So picking up a fair number of points. It must have been a really difficult day for the Super Aguri squad. And yeah, with since running 1 and 2, you have to say it's a day to forget for the team.
I think Frains will be happy to take as many points as he can get out of this race, especially considering that his teammate. And, a little bit of a moment there from Frains, just as we were talking about him. Able to keep the car going, but he won't want to make too many more mistakes like that. But with Antonio Felix da Costa and Nico Hulkenberg both out of this race, Frains will just want to take as many points as he can out of this race. And P7 scores you 6 points here, which won't give him the lead of the championship. And Scott Dixon's out! Scott Dixon showing us out on the graphic, and there he is. What has happened to the Kiwi? He was so dominant in this race, and he has now dropped out. So, I'm sure it must be mechanical, Tom. It doesn't look like he has any damage. Oh, what has gone on there for Scott Dixon? He was absolutely flying in this race, Tom.
Yeah, there's something mechanical. I thought when I saw a puff of a little bit of fire or something on the back, or maybe something like a brake problem of some sort. But yeah, that's really costly for the Simtek team, and Stoffel Van Dorn has inherited the lead.
So Simtek can still get a win out of this race. It won't be the 1-2 that they were hoping for. But Van Dorn still has an advantage of 8.6 seconds as Calderon gets a bit crossed up there through the chicane. But I'm sure that we will find out what happened to Dixon there. We did not pick it up on the camera, so we haven't seen what the issue is for the Kiwi driver. But we will see if we can get confirmation from the pit wall as soon as possible for him. But Van Dorn has inherited the lead of this race. Kevin Magnussen now up into P2, and Marco Andretti now on for Manner's first podium of the season, but looming large in his mirrors, Andre Lotterer, now less than a second behind the American driver.
So as it stands, with the way it is at the moment, I just wonder if Dixon still has he's still got the pole position point, and probably the fastest lap point to go with it. If Van Dorn was to win this now, he'd be tied on points with Dixon at the top.
Oh, so a lot to play for here today. We have actually just had confirmation come through from the pit wall. Dixon dropped it on his own and put it into the barrier. It was an accident for the Kiwi. Out in front, really comfortable, and seemingly throwing it away of his own accord. So really unfortunate there for Dixon. Maybe getting a little bit too comfortable there in the Simtek.
Well, this is another battle to look out for. Topher, the battle for the final podium slot between Andretti and Lotterer.
And Lotterer, as we said before, he is very much in contention for this championship, so he will take every point that he can get with his championship rivals falling out of this race. Can he take P3 from Marco Andretti? Andretti, he's a very good racer and a very good defensive driver. So, that will be a battle royale between those two. As we ride on board with Marco Andretti now, the gap is 0.6 of a second, and we now cut to his teammate, Alex Albon, now promoted up into a points-paying position in P10 as a result of Dixon falling out of the lead of this race. 10 laps to go here in Birmingham, still a lot of action to come, I'm sure.
Looking at the team's championship, Topher, with Dixon's retirement, and the picture is, if Simtek was to come away with, let's say, 27 points, with Super Aguri on course for 8 points now, is it? With Fines in 6th place, they would be tied on points with each other. They would be tied on. So whilst the top of the Drivers' Championship may be tied between two drivers, two teams would be on the same number of points as well.
So we're 9 rounds into a 16-round championship. And here's Andre Lotterer trying to get down the inside Andretti. Andretti says no. You are not coming through and taking this podium away from me. Andretti, he could have got on a podium in Chennai. He will be desperate to go on his day. Lotterer has a lot of power in that BMS Scuderia Italian. He's making it work to get up to the back of the manor. But Andretti driving very well defensively and not conceding P3 just yet. Here is your new race leader, Stoffel van Dorn. He has already tasted the winner's champagne this season. He's done it on 2 occasions. The first time on his return, as Lotterer down the inside, and Andretti still driving very defensively and doing a good job of it there.
His Fine's got an issue with Topher because I think he went into someone a little bit of a weird angle, but I just hope that's not a sign of things to come from Super Aguri. They've already had enough problems today. They don't want another one now.
It looked alright after that corner, so maybe just a little bit of a driver error there from Robin Frains, just wanting to get the car home. So Stoffel van Dorn, if he gets it to the end of the race, it will be his 3rd win of the campaign, and that'll be a 3rd win out of 6 races. He came back into the championship in time for the Yongan Grand Prix, took pole position and the win first time out. Took pole position for the next race after that in Fuji, but retired late on in the race. Didn't score any points in India, but then got pole, fastest lap, and the win in South Africa at Kyalami. So, potentially a 3rd win of the season coming up for Stoffel van Dorn. We're on lap 52 out of 59. He's looking very comfortable out in front now, 6.8 seconds ahead of Kevin Magnussen, who's closing the gap down a little bit to Van Dorn actually. Magnussen still driving very well there. He is right on cue. It's currently 6.8, and going into the next sector, what's it going to be now? It's still 6.8, but just slightly further ahead. Wehrlein gets a little bit locked up there, but is able to keep his AGS points in the right way. Given the pace that Kevin Magnussen is showing in one AGS, Tom, you would have thought that Wehrlein would have liked to have been higher up in the other AGS.
Yeah, you would have thought so with Wehrlein. I mean, Wehrlein's had some good races this season, as far as I can remember. Did he have a good race in the last one in Istanbul?
Last time out in Istanbul, he finished 10th, so he got a point out of the last one.
Yeah, and I think he got a 6th place finish 2 races before that in Chennai. So Wehrlein not doing a bad job in the AGS. I think Phil Kinch will be hoping for more from him.
He did pick up a 2nd place finish at Fuji earlier on in the season. A very good performance from him there to vindicate Phil Kinch's decision to bring him into the team in place of Alex Albon, who has now found refuge at the Manor team for the rest of the season. And the gap between Magnussen and Van Dorn now down to 6.7 seconds. So Magnussen is closing in on the Simtek here, but I don't think it's going to be enough before the end of the race, because we're on lap 53 out of 59, only a handful of laps left to go. Magnussen really needs to be closing in by at least a second a lap here if he's going to challenge for the victory.
So looking at Magnussen in 2nd place, 6.6 seconds adrift of Van Dorn, so I think this is going to be too little too late, unless Van Dorn was to make a mistake.
Well, Van Dorn, if you remember back to Fuji, he was leading, and then with about 3 or 4 laps to go, his car failed on him. And we really hope it doesn't happen again. We don't want to put a commentator's curse on it. But what I'm saying, Tom, is if it can happen once, it can happen again.
Yeah, if it's happened to one driver, it can happen to the other. And the gap between himself and Magnussen is 6.3. He came down to 6.3 in the second sector and he's around about the same still. So Magnussen still continuing to close in on Van Dorn, waiting for an opportunity in case Van Dorn does make an error. There's Junkendale. Is that Junkendale or is that Christensen who has just gone through?
Well, that's Christensen right there in shot, but I was just about to talk about his teammates actually. His new teammate, Junkendale, currently in P11 at the moment. So if we do have someone else falling out of the top 10 before the end of this race, Junkendale could get some points on debut here. He's driven fantastically in that Minardi. For his debut today, he put it... checking my notes here, where was he? Lost him. 16th. He qualified 16th on the grid. So he out-qualified his teammates at his first attempt and now running in 11th, just one position off the points.
And there's still 6 laps remaining, so anything can happen from here on in. So there's still some time. They've got 8 cars out of the race, Topher, which is more than what we had in the League 2 events.
So there is your little time zone. Looks like we're about to get one more. Sebastian Buemi pulling over with a transmission problem. So not going to plan today for the BAR squad. Nick de Vries fell out of the race earlier on with an oil leak. And now Sebastian Buemi's gearbox has packed in. So it is non point for the BAR team. And as we were saying just a moment ago, Tom, Junkendale is now up into P10 and on for a point on debut.
That's a really important point for Minardi. They really needed this result.
Absolutely. It's been a good race for the debutants actually. We've got Piquet Jr. there in P7 in the BMS Scuderia Italia. Junkendale is in P10 and on for a point for himself and for Minardi. And Williamson's up into P12, so he's doing a great job there in the Midland as well.
Absolutely, and Williamson under threat now from Di Silvestro in the battle for 12th place. Going offensive into turn 1 by the looks of it.
And Kamui Kobayashi there in P14 as well. Where has his pace been so far? Not just in this race, but in this season. He won in Taupo to start off the season. And since then has not done anything noteworthy. Kamui Kobayashi just having a really disappointing season. And we hope to see him back up in the points win positions in the next few rounds, because we both know it, Tom, he's better than that. As Marco Andretti fighting off Andre Lotterer here for P3, and he shuts the door on him. Lotterer is really fighting to get the move done there. And up onto the back of this battle now is Kazuki Nakajima, so this has become a 3-way battle for 3rd place here.
But it's going to go right to the end, I can imagine. Stoffel Van Dorn just needs to keep the car on the road. Doesn't appear to be any mechanical issues with that Syntec. Oh, he's got a loose wheel!
Oh, loose wheel for Stoffel Van Dorn. We were just looking at his visor cam, and a wheel is coming off the wagon for Van Dorn. It's all falling apart for the Syntec team. Scott Dixon fell out of the race earlier on by crashing on his own, and Van Dorn, set to inherit the victory, now has a loose wheel. It looks like he will get back to the pits because the pit entry is right there. He does indeed. But that's going to give the lead of this race to Kevin Magnussen, who could be set for his first victory in the Grand Prix World Series. We said it wasn't over, Tom. There he goes through into the lead. And it's fallen apart for the Syntec team here.
This is really, really costly in their quest for the championship as well. Well, that changes everything, doesn't it?
I mean, we were calculating the points earlier on, where you can throw those calculations out the window. We've only got a few laps left to go here. Van Dorn's down into P6 now, so not even on for a podium after that. He's out in front of Piquet Jr. and on fresher tyres he will be able to dispatch the Brazilian, no problem. But what can he do to get back up through the order? We're on lap 57 out of 59, 2.5 laps left to go here. Is Van Dorn now consigned into P6, or can he close down on Robin Frains? The gap is 3.2 seconds between himself and the Dutchman. Van Dorn's progress we will keep a keen interest in. But Kevin Magnussen now into the lead of this race and only a few miles away from his first ever Grand Prix World Series victory.
And Marco Andretti up to 2nd for Manor as well. What a brilliant result this would be for Sam Hull. And this is going to change the picture in the fight for relegation dramatically.
Now, this has been such a topsy-turvy race. We thought Scott Dixon was going to win at a canter to get a Grand Slam. He crashes out unpressured. Stoffel Van Dorn then inherits the lead, and his wheel decides it doesn't want to be attached to the car anymore. so he's now down into P6. We're about to get a debut victory for Kevin Magnussen. It'll be another first-time winner this season. We've had quite a few already. Marco Andretti's on for Manna's first podium of the season. Van Dorn trying to get past one of the Lolas. That is Tatiana Calderon. He does not want to get held up in. The Calderon shutting the door on him. She is about to be lapped here, but there are no blue flag rules in the Grand Prix World Series. She does not have to get out of the way, and Van Dorn will not be at all happy with that. The Colombian now lets Van Dorn through, and he's setting off after Robin Frains, Kazuki Nakajima, and Andre Lotterer here. On the fresher tyres that Van Dorn's on, maybe, just maybe, Tom, he can sneak a podium out of this, but he still has a lot of work to do.
Yeah, it's too little too late. He can go for the fastest lap point, though.
We now run aboard with Kazuki Nakajima looking back at Robin Frains pulling over it there. Did he have a problem there? It looked like he's about to pull over to the side of the circuit. And it looks fine now, so maybe just trying to get out of the dirty air a little bit with Frains. But we're now on to the final lap, and Magnussen set for victory here today with Andretti having cleared this battle in a second. Lotterer is 9/10 of a second ahead of Nakajima. So it looks like that might well be our top three. And there is Van Dorn right behind Robin Frains. This is not over yet, Tom.
No, and this is going to be a slam dunk manoeuvre to the inside into Halford, and Van Dorn will go back up into 5th place.
So making the most of everything he's got there. He's got the engine power and he's got the fresh tyres. Can he now get Nakajima and Lotterer? Maybe even Andretti, actually, because he's actually not that far behind. And with the fresh rubber he's got on board, I would say it's possible, maybe.
No, it's too little too late. But here's Magnussen.
Kevin Magnussen out of the final corner. What a victory this is for Phil Kinch and for AGS. He was about to be dropped mid-season, but he is now a race winner. Kevin Magnussen wins the League One Birmingham Superprix. What a result for himself, for AGS, and for Phil Kinch. And what about this? Marco Andretti, the first podium of the season for Manor, and to the line, or Van Dorn just misses out on 4th place. Nakajima takes home the 12 points there. That was good effort at the recovery from Van Dorn, but he will be disappointed that he's missed out on the win here today. Lotterer holding off a P3 there. Nakajima just beating Van Dorn to the line by less than a 10th. Frains getting some points towards his championship challenge in P6. PK Jr. points on debut for him. Then Bourdais in 8th. A good recovery drive from him. Alex Albon in 9th, and a point on debut for Danny Junkendaya in 10th.
Super drive from Magnussen. He really enjoyed it. I mean, he had some fortune go his way with the Simtex having their own problems, but he won't care one bit. He's got the victory, and well done to Marco Andretti on finishing 2nd. Excellent performance from him.
So there is your race officially over here in Birmingham. What an event it's been, not just in League 2 but in League 1 as well. Here are your official results. Kevin Magnussen wins the Birmingham Superprix, a first win for himself and a 2nd career victory for AGS. Marco Andretti, his first podium of his career, fine drive from him. Andre Lotterer points towards his championship challenge in P3. Then Nakajima, Van Dorn will be disappointed in P5. Robin Frains in P6 ahead of PK Jr. in 7th. Bourdais in 8th ahead of Albon, and Junkendaya a point on debut for him in 10th. Pascal Wehrlein 11th ahead of Lewis Williamson. Simone Di Silvestro 13th, and Kobayashi, Christensen and Salo. Calderon the only lapped car in that race. Then Buemi was 6 laps down, still classified. Scott Dixon, what could have been for him. Then De Vries, Wittmann, Hulkenberg, De Resta, Da Costa, Nissani and Jaime Alguersuari. Your fastest lap points goes to Scott Dixon. So Dixon still takes home 2 points out of that race. Should have been a full 27 though, shouldn't it, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, what an interesting race we had, or a couple of races actually, because in the League 1 we had HRT fighting back, and then League 1 AGS finally picking up their 2nd victory in the Grand Prix World Series. They did pick up their first one in Season 1 in Marrakesh, but to do it here in Birmingham, I'm sure Phil Kinch will be very pleased with that effort. And now on to Imola.
Yes, on to Imola. That is our next race. The famous Italian circuit hosting round 10 of the Grand Prix World Series. There were 2 fantastic races today. Plenty of overtaking, plenty of action, plenty of drama as well. And we've come away with a first-time winner. And that has really shaken up the championship standings. I should imagine we will bring you all of those standings when we come to the next race. But for now, I'm Topher Smith. Alongside me, Tom Cairns. Thank you very much for tuning in, and see you next week.